morning. Welcome to our May 24th, 2016 regular meeting for the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we start, I just want to make an announcement that Supervisor Ponte had surgery yesterday, so she won't be here today. Haven't heard from her, so I don't know how it went, but I'm sure we'll be hearing from her pretty soon. Yeah. And we also holy cow. We also got a call in from Supervisor Wright, and apparently he tweaked his back, so we don't know if he'll show up or not today, but he may show up late. So we're going to try to do it. Just hope there's no 4/5 votes today. So our first order of business is something that we all feel is extremely important. And I'd like to bring Captain Macedo up, please.
So this item is from the Administrative Office. It's to adopt a proclamation recognizing Captain Jim Macedo's service to Calaveras County.
Captain Macedo is one of those folks that he doesn't like a lot of recognition for almost anything. He just likes to work, and I appreciate that. First, I'd like to say that our Sheriff's Department in Butte Fire was extremely commendable in what they did. They saved many lives during Butte Fire, and that went from everybody. It's a very small group, and they did a lot of evacuations. They responded to something that was enormous for our little county. And of course, Captain Macedo was a big part of that. And then afterwards, or during that whole process, of course, we lost our Sheriff Kuntz. And then Captain Macedo was away. I'll let him explain that. And he had the duty bestowed upon him to take over the Sheriff's Department just like that. So what an enormous responsibility. Not just in regular duty, but also the added extra duty during all of what we were going through in not only the response but the recovery. So he did a fantastic job. I can't say enough about Captain Macedo. So I'll just say the proclamation. So the proclamation reads this way. And after this, I'll give Captain Macedo a chance to speak. He'll probably say like 3 words. But there may be somebody else, like our sheriff, Rick, that would come up and speak. I'm sure he'll want to come up and say something because he was there too. And maybe Lieutenant Hubbard, if he would like to come up, the folks that were, at the helm of things, and anybody else would like to come up. The proclamation recognizing Captain Jim Macedo's service to Calaveras County, whereas upon the unexpected and untimely death of Sheriff Gary Kuntz, Captain Jim Macedo provided the necessary leadership that enabled the Sheriff's Department to conduct daily operations and deal with difficult and complex issues. And whereas Captain Macedo, whose experience and knowledge provided a steady hand to help the Sheriff's Department move forward during trying times, including the Butte fire response and recovery. And whereas Captain Macedo provided leadership not only to the Sheriff's Department, but provided a continuity of service to the other county departments and county residents. And whereas Captain Macedo went above and beyond the call of duty to maintain operations and support staff during the process of the appointment of a new sheriff. And therefore be it proclaimed that the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors would like to extend their appreciation for Captain Macedo's dedication to the county and its residents. And I'd like to call for
I move to approve.
I second.
Okay, so can I have public comments, please? Public comments?
I want to break my record, so I'm going to complain against the cop. Why can't you get this guy to move into this county? If you guys would pay him a decent salary, you know, that $500,000 is not enough. $750,000. Anyway, it would be nice if we could have con him into coming and living here. But thank you for the work. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We almost lose here now.
Council Gala Taxpayer Association, and we appreciate the work he's done, and we admire his dedication, and we are happy to observe what's happening here. Thank you.
Morning, Board, Mr. Chair, Sheriff Rick DiBasilio. What Captain Macedo has done throughout his career in this department is invaluable. Your proclamation pretty much says it all, and that he did go above and beyond what he needed to do for this department. He's been the glue that's held this department together through these trying times, and again, he's a very invaluable part of this team, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Make him stand there longer. He's having so much fun.
Any board comments? Nope, here comes.
Sorry, Sheriff's Office. Actually, I wasn't going to come up and speak because everything that's been said about Captain Macedo, it covers it all. However, I just want to stall a little bit longer to make him stand up there a little bit longer because he enjoys this so. Hey, well, I remember Jim's first day at work, and he was a go-getter from the very beginning, and he's excelled in every way possible through every rank, every assignment, every division, every bureau that he's worked. And it's been a pleasure to work with you, Jim, and we're very fortunate to have you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Board?
Mr. Chair, I have worked with every uniform in this room right now, plus the entire sheriff's office. I've worked with a little police department in the Bay Area called the Oakland Police Department. I've come across many supervisors, and many command people, many police officers, and many deputies. But I've never come across a commander, a captain, a lieutenant, and a friend like Jim Macedo. Keep up the good work, Jim.
First, I want to address Mr. Race. We did ask him to move to the county. My knees got calloused, but he said no. We were begging at one point. But we were very lucky that he did what he did. No one could predict losing our sheriff, who had been duly elected, like we did, and he stepped up to the plate. He did what had to be done. He kept us afloat. I have known Captain Macedo for many years. In my business, when I needed his help, he was always there. Always a cool head, even if I was edgy or nervous about something. And I found as he's risen through the ranks, he continues to be just that same person that I met many years ago. Calaveras is lucky that we have him, and I hope we can keep him for the rest of his career. And I'm honored to see a resolution of this type. Thank you.
Did you say cool?
At times, right?
So, and personally, through this whole situation here, I've only been working with you for 4 years. But I don't know, maybe it's because we're from kind of the same area down there in Tracy. But the experience has been very good. I know that you care about this county, the people here, and what you have shown through this whole ordeal, through the fire and through Sheriff Kuntz. I know that you care about Sheriff Kuntz. I know you guys shared a special experience together, a special relationship. And I certainly appreciate the role that you took on. As you know, we had a meeting as soon as you got back east. It was on a Saturday morning, actually. I remember that. And it was tough. And you stood up and took it on. And the department, I'm sure, appreciates it. The public appreciates it, and the board certainly appreciates it. So, can I have a vote? Yeah, can I have a vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. So it's 3 and 2 absent. Thank you, sir.
Short words. I'll try and get out so I don't get choked up here. Thank you very much for the award. I appreciate the award. I'm very honored to receive the award. However, most of you know, the office isn't 1 or 2 people. It's an entire team. A lot of the guys and gals in the office were very supportive of me. And really, truth be told, the credit goes to some of the men in this room and a couple of ladies back at the office that, they really did the heavy lifting, for lack of a better term, and stood up and did the work. So while, I'm more than happy to accept the proclamation, and I'm very appreciative, the credit really goes back to the men and women of the Sheriff's Office. So thank you very much.
Okay, so we're going to move on to public comments. Any item of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board and is not posted on the consent or regular agenda may be addressed during the public comment period. California law prohibits the board from taking action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the Board of Supervisors. If public comment is completed before the 30-minute allotted time period, the board may immediately move to the regular agenda. So public comment will be 3 minutes this morning per person.
I am Peter Race from Jenny Lynn, and I'll be nice. I'm not going to pick on anybody in this establishment, but I'd like to bring a couple of questions, and maybe you can comment, maybe not, but something I want you to consider. There was substantial damage to the county by the fire, and rumor has it, I didn't see any factual statement on it, but PG&E is going to get their ass ramped, putting it bluntly. And because PG&E that damaged this county, I just hope that you might want to consider it, join the crowd, because as a taxpayers and so on, and constituents that receive damage. So hopefully, I believe some litigation is proceeding against PG&E, and hopefully you can join it. I don't want to put PG&E down too much, but it's a sloppy, slimy organization. Thank you. That's one thing. I would hopefully that when you have a spare time, you got nothing better to do, take a good look at what's happening in Puerto Rico and why. Take a look at the ratio between public employees and the rest of the people on the island. You might get a hint, and you're going to see some certain direction that not just this county, I mean, this county is better than most counties, but the state is on a path the same way. Just this morning on the way over here, the new proposal as far as housing goes by Governor Brown, and it will have no local say in it or overviewing it. So it just came out this morning. It's still going to have to go in front of the Assembly and a state Senate, but Agenda 2030, maybe we have some deniers, but it's being implemented in this state, and depending on the election, it's going to be put to work. Also, when we have some nice neighbors from San Joaquin Valley, Latinos friends that like to come up and visit once in a while, maybe they are just too busy because the state allowed to burn the ballots, destroy the ballots, what the seasonal farm workers voted for.
30 seconds.
And, but you're not going to see in a local newspaper about it, but the vote didn't come out according to what organized labor wanted. It was a big fight. And I'm not just talking about verbal. And a ballot was okay to be destroyed so public does not see how those seasonal workers voted. Other than that, everything is jolly. Nice day outside. Thank you, folks.
Good morning. My name is Lori White. I'm here this morning with my husband, David, who is going to have a couple of minutes of your time as well. We came here to meet the board, and we were here yesterday and met Diane, and she gave us information about when the board meets. My husband and I just moved to Calaveras County. We moved here from Florida just 3 weeks ago. But I am a Calaveras County resident from many, many years back. I lived here during the sheriff reign of Claude Ballard. I was here and I had children here that went to Hazel Fisher School. And we moved back here because I love Calaveras County. But you will see us at your meetings because we're very interested in what is going on in Calaveras County. Things such as why I left as a young lady to go find a job that paid me well. And I'm concerned to see that some 35 years later, there are very few jobs that have been brought to this county to keep our young people here. And I think that that is a problem that really needs to be addressed. And my husband and I both have some ideas on why that is happening. The other big thing on my agenda is this medical marijuana thing that I will want to address when the subject comes up. I happen to have a lot of pain that is managed by a doctor. And my feeling about medical marijuana comes in the fact that if you have pain, go to a doctor, let a pharmacy or pharmaceutical company provide the medical marijuana. Allowing someone to grow 9 plants in their backyard is absurd. I don't grow Vicodin in my backyard. and neither should anyone else. So we're not here to criticize what anyone on the board is doing. We're just here to add our few words of encouragement and how we can help. So thank you very much.
Good morning. Good morning, all. I am the David White half of this duo. We've lived in several states since I left London 30 years ago, and it was our decision that we would retire to Calaveras County, where we've got family, and we like this whole area. I think my comments at this stage I'm going to keep to. I'm disappointed that, with the exception of one of you who is missing because they have surgery, on the one hand, nobody knows whether that person is alive or dead. And secondly, we've got people missing, and they might come later. And maybe that just gives me the impression as to part of the problems that we have as a county. You don't need to be here very long to start seeing the way the county is. The worst thing I found was when I came here looking for the works department. I spent 20 minutes wandering around this complex until somebody took me by the hand down a flight of stairs to meet the guy I needed to see. If we can't make our seat of government at least look presentable, then we should be ashamed of ourselves. We need signs outside telling people where to go. The lady that walked in with a stick yesterday that Laurie had to help to the building that she needed. You all know where to go when you want to see somebody, but strangers don't. And I can't believe that we can't afford, some way or another, to clean this place up. This is your home of government, and you should be ashamed of it. Because, with respect, ladies and gentlemen, if this is the way you leave your seat of government, I bet you don't have your backyards in this condition. And I'm not asking for flowers and trees and God knows what else. I'm asking that somehow you find the few dollars that you need to spend to clean your environment up.
30 seconds.
So that when people do come here, they don't think that they're coming to a trash can. And we need signs outside telling people where the relevant offices are. Building A is the works department. Building B is something else. Have you never thought of these things?
Good morning. My name is Mary Ellen Souza. I'm from the Cave City area of Mountain Ranch. I've been here a few times lately. I don't know about you, but I'm really tired of talking about pot. That said, I wanted to come because I've been to some of the meetings where there have been hundreds of people, and I know, I suspect that the board's been feeling pretty beat up as a result of all of that. I am here to say thank you for passing the urgency ordinance. I know it's temporary, but word on the street is there have already been some positive effects of that action. I'm going to be completely honest. I was angry with every one of you when I boarded the train a little late on that whole topic. But as I got a little more educated, I realized it was not just the Board of Supervisors' responsibility. It's all of our responsibilities, including me as a homeowner and as a citizen. It also became apparent to me that you all didn't have the support of some of the people in the county that I would have hoped would have been supporting you. I also want to give a special recognition to our law enforcement, some of who are sitting here. I feel very passionately that we ask them to put their lives on the line every day. And if we don't give them the tools, and I don't mean just the cars, which are important, and the technology, and the manpower, I'm also talking about the policies and procedures and rules and regs and laws that they need to do their jobs and to do their jobs safely. I, for one, welcome them in my neighborhood. I have 4 pot grows within a half a mile of my house. I no longer run my dog nor walk down that part of Cave City. Why? Because of the pit bulls, because of the element that it brings. I know there are good people that are responsible growers. While I wouldn't vote them in, I'm okay with it if they're abiding by the laws. And I just want to encourage you to not let up on the momentum that's been established. I'm concerned that initially I thought the ballot initiatives were a good idea. And then when I read a little further, unless I'm incorrect, the ballot initiative that's trying to get on about regulating it doesn't require environmental impact reviews. If I'm mistaken, then I retract the statement. But if it doesn't, that's a significant concern. Right up there with crime and supporting our law enforcement is protecting our environment. We all rely on wells. We all rely on septic. We all rely on the beauty of the area that brought us here in the first place. So I'm just going to encourage you to stay focused on this issue as much as I'm sick of it too. Make sure that the right thing gets done, that we balance the needs of the people who truly care about this county and want to stay versus people who may just be coming in for a quick buck. So again, it's a long-winded and a somewhat qualified thank you, but I do want to say thank you for your efforts. I really do appreciate it.
Good morning. My name is Rosemary Wilson, and I live in Arnold/Moke Hill, anywhere in between. And I just came back from Sidcup near London in England, and I can assure everybody that we have our problems. But let me tell you, in London, it's pretty damn dirty. There's a lot of things going on there that aren't particularly leading to a positive, good quality of life either. So every area has their difficulties, and I prefer you to be spending your money on aspects with regard to the community as opposed to putting up more signs in the area to complement those that are in fact already there. But I and my 93-year-old mother, I don't know why I did it, but I did. I put her through 5 hours of the Board of Supervisors meeting. The one with the yeah, I know, Diane, with the ordinance. And you know, it was so crowded. But one thing came to my mind, and that is, I think you should consider reserving some spaces, or in fact how you do accommodate the disabled and handicapped people that may be here for those meetings. I wouldn't like trying to battle to get a seat outside. Maybe there should be some reserved. As I just noticed, there are some reserved for county staff. So that was one point. I also, as a result of this new emergency ordinance going in on the 10th, there was a hell of a lot of activity as far as my neighbors were concerned over the weekend and the day before, which I copied. I sent an email and copied you guys. I hope you had a chance to read it.
30 seconds.
So now I have a hoop house. My neighbors are very responsible growers. They've been growing I think for a number of years. But now I have a hoop house about a foot from a boundary. Now, admittedly, I'm not going to be building there anytime soon. You know, it all got burnt down. But I'm just wondering whether the county has considered the planning aspects of hoop houses. I guess they are temporary structures, but still they're, are they temporary structures, or are they really permanent structures. I mean, they're going to be there for a long time, and it doesn't seem like there's much in the way of regulation in terms of the dimensions of those and the positioning right up close within a foot of the boundary. Thank you very much. And it's
So
good.
you know what? Go over and see Peter Maurer. Okay.
And it's good. It's good to be back. Thank you.
Reed Larson, Calaveras Cannabis Alliance. I wanted to thank the board again for passing the urgency ordinance the other week. I also wanted to let the board know that the CCA is working diligently with local cultivators to get strict compliance and registration with the new program, educational outreach programs, workshops we're hosting. I also wanted to thank the planning department and law enforcement for fielding, I'm sure, all sorts of questions recently. I'm sure it's quite overwhelming. As for Rosemary's question as well, as we all, I think, know, there's 75-foot setbacks in the urgency ordinance that wouldn't allow for any cultivation to happen within that bounds of a property line. Thank you, guys.
Good morning. My name is Jackie McGowan. I'm with Central Valley Normal, and I wasn't going to speak today, but I really want to thank you for doing all the hard work that you've done, and I, too, encourage you to continue with the momentum. I myself am now receiving death threats from another county that I'm helping regulate because I spent an afternoon knocking on bad actors' doors. So I really hope that I could get through to the opposition that we're on the same side here. We want the same things. I don't want people living in fear. I don't want dogs and guns and scary black market thugs dictating how people live their lives. That's not what we stand up for. I like using the example of my trip here 2 weeks ago. I was pulled over and cited for speeding. I was given a speeding ticket, and that's because you regulate your roads. If you just throw up a ban without a mechanism to enforce that ban, you would have people speeding down the road all the time. So I just wanted to use that as an example of you are taking the proper steps here, and we are on the right side of history right now. Thank you so much.
Tom Griffin, Oak Hill. I just wanted to express my support for your letter of opposition of AB 2395, I believe it is, the one that would eliminate additional landlines in rural county areas.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, I know.
So if it's on the agenda.
Oh, right. So I'm not supposed to comment on it until then. Never mind. Thanks.
Any other public comments?
Hello, I am Kathy Kuhn from Arnold. I'm also treasurer of the Friends of the Library of Arnold. And I just wanted to make the board aware and all the people here in attendance that we need people to come help support our big book sale this weekend, because the money that we earn by selling books that have been donated to us is what keeps the Friends of the Library able to keep Friday and Saturday hours at the Arnold Library. We would not have any extra time for all our second residents that come up only on the weekend unless we raise the money to pay to have that open. So please, I want to at least have you aware that we're doing all we can to support our library up in Arnold. And please, in the future, if you can try to increase the budget so you can help us maintain Friday and Saturday hours, we'd really appreciate it. And again, the sale is this Saturday and Sunday from 9 to 4. Come on out and support your Arnold Library. Thank you.
Do you have an address for all those who might?
Yes, the library is at 1065 Blagan Road, right next to the fire station.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hours? 9 to 4. 9 to 4?
From 9 to 4.
Yeah.
Council Gallant Taxpayer Association. We didn't have our usual public forum for supervisor candidates this year, so we tried something new and different. We put together some questions that have not been asked at other forums, and then sent those to all the candidates. And we're kind of pleased that 5 out of 7 candidates did respond with their thoughts on our questionnaire. What we hope to do is provide the same questions to publish the same questions to the public, and then have a survey tabulation of their responses, and they can answer the poll online. And it'd be interesting to part of this process is educational. It'd be interesting to see just what the level of education on some of these questions are. And we're looking ahead long range because we really want to preserve our free society and protect our property rights, while at the same time bring about the best government we can possibly have. So by tonight or tomorrow, we should have the poll results published, and then also have the online poll up and ready. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay. Seeing none, we'll come back and we'll go to our regular agenda.
So the first item on the agenda is to receive a presentation by the Calaveras High School Waste Audit Project.
It goes off by itself after a while.
Great. Good. All right, good morning. My name is Sarah Swift, and I teach marine biology at Calaveras High. I've got it. Hi. I teach marine biology at Calaveras High School, and I'm also an alumni, and I grew up in West Point. After teaching in the district for 12 years, it became increasingly clear to me that students needed to get involved in issues affecting their generation, that they needed something to care about. So this year we decided to tackle our current plastics and waste crisis, focusing on our local district. Never before has the waste stream been calculated for our school district, and we feel that this vital data can facilitate inexpensive alternatives along with a sea change in the way we use materials and dispose of waste. During our research, which included over 100 hours of garbage sorting and data analysis with 30 of my high school students, we learned that our own landfill is nearing capacity and that Calaveras is currently under a notice of compliance by the state of California. It seems that we are all at a critical time in our county. I always tell my students that with education comes responsibility, and their enthusiasm and clear-eyed optimism has been infectious. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my students, and thank you so much for having us.
Good morning. All right. So we as a class decided to conduct waste audits at each of the schools at Calaveras Unified. Waste audits are a method to calculate the amount of garbage that is thrown out at a site within 24 hours. In this case, our school campuses, with the exception of bathroom garbage, of course, because trust us, it's as disgusting as it sounds. After the garbage was collected, we sorted, weighed, and recorded the waste so we'd be able to show you the data today. Here we have pictures of the groups at each of their school sites. While most of us did waste audits at elementary schools, including Jenny Lind and San Andreas, we had one group do a waste audit at Toy Island Middle School and another even do a waste audit at our very own Calaveras High School. One of the cool things about each group's choice of school is that at least one student in each group was an alumni of their school. Category definitions. As we went through the garbage, we sorted into 3 different categories. We have organic waste, which included foods, liquids, and basically anything that could be composted. Then we also had recycling, which was any plastic, paper, metal, etc., as long as it wasn't soiled or damaged by the organic waste or the garbage. And then the garbage was anything that was too tattered to be recycled or composted or just wasn't supposed to be in the first place. So. Okay. Keep in mind that we did not sort through any recycling bins to collect this data. Everything that was sorted through had been thrown out originally.
Hunter, would you introduce yourself?
Oh yeah, my name is Hunter Roosh.
Are you related to? Yeah.
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Ivan Ramos. As you can see here, we have all of our data that we collected from the waste audits. And this column here shows that the average amount of waste per person at each one of these schools. And this table shows the 3 upper class schools of the COSD. In Calaveras High School, we have 976 students and staff. At Gold Strike High School, we have 38 students and staff. And at Toy Island Middle School, we have 492 students and staff. And the individual amount of garbage per person at CHS is a little over 1/2 a pound. And Gold Strike High School is almost 3/4 of a pound. And at Toy Island Middle School, it's 1/3 a pound. And here we have the numbers for all the elementary schools in our district. What I would really like to direct your attention to is the amount of organic waste within Jenny Lind and Valley Springs alone. Right here. Just between the 2 schools, the amount of organic waste is 392 pounds. Neither of these schools have a composting program in place, although Valley Springs Elementary has said that they are looking into one. And if you look at the average amount of waste per person, Jenny Lind is at 3/4 of a pound per person, while Valley Springs is at 1/3 of a pound. And my question is, why is there such a big difference between the 2 averages? Jenny Lind only has 44 more students and staff members than Valley Springs Elementary. Over a 24-hour period, these were the final numbers, which consist of stats from the schools around the school district. And these are the final numbers. And these are the numbers over the course of an entire school year in the district. And that's not including any special events such as homecoming or graduation or any type of schooling, sporting events. And the total average waste for 100 days, mind you, which is an entire school year, is 304,120 pounds. Just let that settle in.
Hi, my name is Emma Leiser. I'm a junior at Calaveras. So during our waste audits, we decided that our biggest issues were the amount of styrofoam trays, food waste, and milk cartons that were being thrown out each year. So in total, we found 1,242 styrofoam trays in the garbage throughout all the schools. And keep in mind that this is just from one day of garbage. So altogether, this means that in an entire school year, our district fills 68 dumpsters full of lunch trays, the styrofoam lunch trays, and that's if they're stacked neatly, which generally they're not. They're just kind of thrown in there. Now, Calaveras High School, which is our district's biggest campus, uses cardboard boats instead of these, and as long as they're not soiled by food, they're recyclable. So we encourage all the other schools, especially the elementary schools, to use these instead if possible. And we also found a lot of spork packets, and if anyone doesn't know what those are, they have a spork, a napkin, and a plastic straw inside of them. We found a lot of those in the garbage, and a lot of them, the majority of them actually, were unopened or just had one utensil taken out and the rest was thrown away. And that just adds a lot of excess plastic in our landfill, which is not very good for the environment. As for food waste, there was an astounding amount of food waste that we found in the garbage, about 710 pounds altogether for all the schools, which adds up to about 127,000 pounds every year of food that we throw away, which is nuts. I think we can all agree. Now, a lot of this food could have been composted. West Point Elementary actually does have a composting system that they've been managing for a while, and that's great, but West Point is a smaller elementary school, so if we establish things like those at some of the larger schools like Torreon or Valley Springs Elementary, then I think that would have a greater overall effect. As for milk and juice containers, like little cartons that people get at breakfast and lunch, we found roughly 2,000 of those in the garbage from one day. The crazy thing is that over 50% of these cartons were full or unopened, and a lot of the opened ones still had milk or juice in them. So the majority of kids who get these drinks at lunch or breakfast just throw them away. They don't even drink them. After doing a little math with the rest of the class, we found that overall, in a year, our district throws away about 354,000 milk and juice containers in a year. And like I said, half of those are usually full and unopened. However, we do have some recommendations that will help fix these problems or ease them a little bit, as Hannah will explain. Hi, my name is Hannah Grothier, and so far you have all heard about all the issues with our waste programs at our school. And we came here to show you that even though we have these problems, there's easy and manageable ways to fix them. So for food waste, one easy fix is to have students go to their recess before eating their lunch. Studies have shown that schools who do this have less food waste because when the students go to their lunch, they're more focused on eating their food, so they'll waste less. Another thing is having separate containers after the students have eaten their lunch to separate their food into, such as like napkins, whole food, recyclables, and like compost. It would be good to separate it like that, so that way there's less food waste because each thing is already separated. If you're worried about how that will be monitored, you can always have one of the older students watch the younger students and show them what goes into what container. And this will also have the older students have a sense of responsibility, and it's good for the schools. Allowing people who compost to come in with collection bins on a daily basis will help reduce food waste dramatically because all the composting is pretty much out of the way. Railroad Flat, I believe, is the one school right now who has someone come in with a little bucket for a pig slop every day, and it just helps with their food waste amount. Leftover food that has not been opened and hasn't been used should be donated to a food bank. And if you guys are worried about a food bank with liability, there's really nothing to worry about. In 1996, President Bill Clinton signed the Good Samaritan Food Donation Act, which protects the schools if they were to choose to donate food from liability issues. So there's no worry. For recycling, one big thing is teachers must commit to using their bins in their classroom. If the students see the teachers throw away their papers that could be recycled, they're not going to put their papers in the recycling bin because their teacher doesn't do it. It doesn't make sense to them. Recycling bins should be more available around campuses because students who get put out of their way to put stuff in a recycling bin, they won't. They'll just throw it away because it's easier, and students are lazy. There should be more waxless paper trays at more of the campuses. It'll help the schools with recycling issues because you can recycle the waxless paper trays, whereas the styrofoam trays will go straight into a landfill. Hydration stations. We have 2 at the high school right now, and they help a lot. Having hydration stations will encourage students and staff to bring their own reusable water bottles instead of buying a water bottle every day.
these meetings, or meetings alike, people should avoid plastic water bottles and focus on bringing their own reusable water bottles, because it just sets a good example for everyone. One huge and simple thing is staff and students need to be educated on recycling and how it can positively impact our environment. Our environment is really bad right now because of it, and it could be so much better if we were all just to know what it's doing. By 50-50, plastic will outweigh fish in the ocean. 2050, sorry, I'm bad. Whatever. 2050, that's less than 50 years from now. Plastic will outweigh the amount of fish in the ocean. For styrofoam, like we said before, please try to make the commitment to change to waxless paper trays. And if you can't do the waxless paper trays, try to encourage students to only take a tray if they need to. Because I know some of the schools have paper boats that they can just put little parts of their meal in. If they don't need a tray, encourage them not to take a tray. And it doesn't cost any money to do that. And if you absolutely have to use plastic, try getting washable trays that you can reuse. I mean, that might sound a little hard, but it can work. For forks, purchasing reusable, washable forks and spoons that can be used is a huge thing because it adds absolutely no waste to the environment. Don't put the sporks directly on every tray. I mean, students who don't need a spork, why do they have it if they're just going to be thrown away? Like, a lot of the spork packets were unused and unopened. That's because they put it on every tray. It doesn't matter if they have a grilled cheese sandwich, which doesn't need a spork. And another thing is if you have to offer sporks, try to separate it between napkins and sporks, because sometimes all the students need are a napkin. They don't actually need the plastic. They don't, and maybe have disposable napkin bins, things. Yeah. I'd like to say thank you for your time. We really appreciate being here. Yeah.
Great. All right, very good job. Any public comments? None?
I'd just like to say, I think...
Come on up to the podium, please.
I think these young people did a magnificent job on this report. And just to verify what they're saying about these sporks, my husband and I went to Mark Twain School to a Grandparents' Day or something that they had a couple of weeks ago. I've never seen a spork and couldn't use it anyway, but I opened the package, pulled the napkin out, and threw the rest away. And it is a terrible waste, and I think these young people did a wonderful job on this.
Well, I've learned a new word for today. I never knew what a spork was, although I may have known what a spork was, but I didn't know the word for it. If I could give just one little bit of advice that was meant to be in a very positive way, in one of the columns you had the averages or a calculation that was displayed to so many so-called significant figures that it made it difficult for me, at least, to follow along with what you were saying, because I was conscious. I couldn't help but focus on, the 7th or 8th or 9th decimal place. So I think it would strengthen your argument if you were to to truncate those significant figures to say, 1 or 2, so that you could clearly see the differences as opposed to being absolutely blinded by a matrix or a apparent matrix of figures. But that was, I can't help saying that from my background, but it was a really enlightening presentation just in terms of how many of those styrofoam containers are used and disposed of each day, each year. Thank you for it.
Good morning, Bonnie Newman from Double Springs. I had 2 Sonora newspapers, and I just read that they're sponsoring a styrofoam collection thing in Tuolumne County. So I don't know if that, I was shuffling through the paper trying to find who was sponsoring it. I'm not sure it's, the solid waste department or it's a school, but there is an effort to do some recycling in Tuolumne County. I'll keep shuffling through my papers if I can find that article and hand it to you before I leave. But thank you.
Good morning. Mary Beth Hospital, Community Outreach Coordinator for Calways. I want to commend these students and this teacher for this project they did. They came to me a while back and said, hey, we want to do a waste audit. I think our schools are throwing away way too much. Can you help us out? Well, I don't think they realized what they were getting into when they decided to dig through the garbage at the schools. So I had the pleasure of working with these students and this teacher on a couple of these sites, and it was a great experience for me as well. I think these kids have some really great recommendations. As far as the styrofoam, it's a booger, and there's really nothing. I mean, it's feasible for the schools because they're cheap, and that's why they keep buying them. But as far as the environment, it's not very friendly for us. So I think these students did a wonderful job. Cal Waste is here to support them in their efforts. We hope that you guys heard that message. We're going to take that message to the school board tonight, and hopefully some changes will be made. So thank you guys, and you did a great job.
Thanks.
It was the Master Gardeners program in Sonora.
Hello, I'm Nancy Giddens, the county librarian. I want to thank these kids for going through all that garbage. I mean, I find that truly amazing. And I would really love to have your data, your PowerPoint, whatever we can put together. We can put it at the main desk in the library, and I would love the community to be exposed to your great data and great conclusions. Thanks very much.
I too would like to applaud these young people for tackling this onerous task. And I think my only recommendation would be is a matter of taking all the facts that you've got, which are startling. We've all been in all kinds of situations where we take the little bag, particularly in hotels, and throw it in the bin. Is that what you're calling sporks? Am I just sport something? I don't understand.
Anyone doesn't know.
Oh, okay, that's a sport. Thank you.
A sport is the fork spoon combo.
I would like to make a suggestion. Tackle the problem as you're trying to do with recommendations, and I applaud you for that, because I just keep looking at it, going through the papers that you presented, and find that it's mind-boggling what we're throwing away. If we start with my onion theory, which is we look at a problem from the outside of the onion. What's the outside layer of the onion? The milk and soda and juice cartons, the ones that are not opened. I bet we spend a fortune as a county supplying these under our rules and regulations. And as you found out, 50% of them go into the bin unopened. But I applaud you for what you've done, and thank you for all of us.
Good job. Alsa Gallant Taxpayer Association, and it's really a pleasure to experience this. If this presentation can be put in a format such as a PDF summary or maybe even a video, we'd like to host that on our website and help promote it. Thank you.
Jeff Krovitz, Director of Public Works, Calaveras County. Want to thank you guys for the work you've done. I only wished I knew about it earlier. I would also like a request of your report because I think it's something that needs to be included in my quarterly LIP reporting as part of our educational outreach. And, you know, just for your information, what my advisor in university, who was a solid waste specialist, would say to me on a number of occasions, it may be garbage to you, but it's my bread and butter. And if you would like follow-up, I'd love to come and sit down with you guys before the end of the school year. I think we'd have a lot of interesting things to talk about. All right? Thank you very much.
Any other public comments? Board?
I've got a comment, Chair. A couple of issues. Number one, is there anybody from the school board, school districts here? And I was just going to say, I think, Mary Beth, we're going to be doing this before the boards. Excellent idea. Excellent idea. Especially about the 223,000 pounds worth of styrofoam. Issue number two, can we turn the heater on, Chair? I see people putting coats on out there.
It's about time it goes on.
Yeah.
I'll contact facilities.
I want to thank you for the presentation also. It was very good, very thorough, and you did a very good job at making a public presentation, so you should be commended. I am the chair of the Solid Waste Task Force. Our next meeting is June 20th. It's at 4:30 p.m. in the San Andreas Town Hall. At our last meeting, what we did with the help of the Public Works Director, who just spoke a couple moments ago, we initiated a study of our solid waste issues, and at the next meeting that will continue to evolve a little bit, and you may have things that you want to add to it that we're going to be looking at as to where to take our solid waste going forward in the next many years. And you touched on some of them. If you're interested, I'd encourage you to go to that task force meeting, and there will be a agenda item where you can add a lot of your findings or even add to the study that we're going to do, and it will become part of the history of the county as we go forward. Thanks again.
So I'd like to say thanks very much for your presentation. It was very good. A couple of things there I thought were real interesting. I know that we have a hard time with green waste around here, not just in the schools, but I know that Cal Waste has an issue with it, or we have an issue with it, the county overall, because of the laws that are coming up. And so I liked your idea of collecting it like they do at Railroad. And maybe you can give your presentation to the Farm Bureau, because I know that they have like Ag Day, and we just had some, the fair, and all of the animals that were there, especially the pigs. There was a bunch of pigs there, of which one I bought. And they eat a lot, but a lot of that waste, the green waste, they're just going to gobble it up. So if there was a program that could be put together, since we are an ag community, I don't think it would be that very hard. Maybe the high school could even do something to promote something like that. The other thing I was thinking is, we should get into the tortilla making business, and we wouldn't have to worry about the styrofoam at all. So,
Yeah, we're going to get worried about that.
Anyhow, I want to thank you guys very much for the great presentation, and keep up the good work. Very good, thorough presentation. And having said that, I think we're going to take a 5-minute break before we go to our next agenda item. Thank you. Okay, we'll begin again. That was a good way to start the day, right?
Yes. Okay, the next item is to adopt a resolution consenting to the inclusion of properties within the county's jurisdiction in the California Home Finance Authority Community Facilities District number 2014-1, Clean Energy, to finance renewable energy improvements, energy efficiency, and water conservation improvements, and electric vehicle charging infrastructure.
Basically what this is the PACE program. It is on August 25th, the Administrative Office presented to the Board of Supervisors information on a Property Assessment Clean Energy or PACE financing program. This allows property owners to finance renewable energy or energy water efficiencies and seismic improvements, electric vehicle infrastructure for charging stations on their property that is financed through the property owners are then assessed, the loan is taken out, a lien is put on their property and their payment is made over a number of years. At that time, the board's expressed its interest in moving forward with possibly doing a PACE program and instructed the Auditor, Controller, Treasurer, Tax Collector, and the CAO to meet and look at the different options and bring forward a recommendation. What you have for this item and the following two items are the resolutions that are necessary to implement a PACE program through the California Home Finance Authority Community Facilities District, which is also known, has changed their name to the Golden State Finance Authority. It is the one that RCRC has promoted. We have here today a gentleman from the program, George Apostolopoulos, I hope I got that right, to answer any questions specific to the Wide Green program, which is the PACE program under the Golden State Finance Authority. Again, this is really has no requirements by the county to do any of the collections or anything else. The bill goes out for any loan that they have taken with their property taxes. It's separate from the TEETR program, and the collection of that money is the responsibility of the PACE program. Again, we went into a lot of detail on the PACE program last September, but if there are any questions, George is here, or I will attempt to answer those.
Okay. Why don't we let George come up and talk about it?
Thank you, everyone. My name is George Apostolopoulos with Wide Green Energy Fund. This mic is really short, so I apologize.
Not for most people.
You can actually stand up and it will still pick you up.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for considering the resolutions today. The Wide Green Works program is a PACE program. We've been doing projects since probably about 2012, technically. Our mode of operation is under Senate Bill 555. So there are only two pieces of legislation for PACE programs. We operate under the Senate Bill 555 version because we see more benefits, more flexibility within the program. And essentially the PACE program, what it allows property owners to do, should they choose to, they can, if they want to put new windows, doors, solar, et cetera, for energy and water improvements, they can then choose with zero costs up front to work with a certified contractor from Wide Green to do the installations, to do the improvements. They pay us back through their property tax bill. And that's why we need the local jurisdiction support and approval of the resolutions to allow this to occur. And should the property owners choose to pay to do these improvements through our mode of financing, it's quick, It's very fast and affordable. Usually, property owners on the residential side can get approvals within 30 minutes because this is equity-based lending. It's not credit-based lending. As long as they have 10% equity in the property, then that's one of the first qualification. We do look at the associated property owner with mortgage history. We look at bankruptcies, foreclosures, current on their property taxes. So we look into all that. But we're not basing it on their actual credit score. And, we have probably the strongest consumer protection policies in place since the very beginning of our program. We vet contractors rigorously through their California State Licensing Board, through social media. We have a zero tolerance policy with contractors should they misrepresent the program. And, there's a lot of stopgaps in place, too, internally. What's nice about the JPA structure is you have consistent oversight of every single project that comes through our door, so to speak, with every single property owner. So the constant oversight is there to make sure that, this is a public-private partnership. So this holds a lot more weight than typical other financial institutions, if you would, because we all want this to be a positive program for everybody because it's such a valuable tool to make those improvements. Any questions at this point?
Not yet.
Basically, there's no risk to the county. There's no cost to the county. The JPA is there to administer all of the paperwork, the due diligence with implementing the program and going through each and every project. And, we are a privately funded company, so there's no cost to the taxpayers. We've currently approved about $400 million in projects, both residential and commercial. This is a very good financial vehicle for commercial property owners because of the easy access to capital. And whereas, getting a loan through a bank on the residential side, even especially on the commercial side, could take 4 to 2 months, 4 weeks to 2 months, depending on what you're looking for. So it's easily accessible, easily affordable, and we've been approved now in about 185 jurisdictions in California, so 22 million Californians have access to the program. And we are one of the only multi-state PACE programs that are actually doing projects, the other state being in Florida. And we're increasingly developing our footprint through other states throughout the country.
And one other thing to mention is that this is through Golden State Finance Authority, which is a JPA,
Correct.
of which the county is a member.
Correct.
Okay. How will you let the public know that this is available?
There's, we've got many ways that we do that. We have a lot of boots on the ground. We have regional account managers that work closely with contractors in the community. And there's, through social media, through a lot of workshops that are done at the local libraries. There's, come learn about PACE, and things like that. We've done that throughout the state. So the combination of boots on the ground and social media, local or, advertising that is on the web as well, that's how we let the public know. And then we also help the county, and then each jurisdiction will provide marketing materials. We even do joint little group, not ventures, but we get together with local jurisdictions to help promote the program as well. Certain jurisdictions might have, there's the BayRENT program, Bay Area Regional Energy Network, that has rebates for home improvement upgrades. And we've gotten together with them to help inform the public. You have rebates on this side, you have PACE on this side, and so it kind of works all together.
You mentioned that this gets financed through property taxes?
It's paid back through the property taxes, correct.
Okay, I guarantee can you explain that just a shade?
Yeah, sure. So
listening understand that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, like I said before, we need local jurisdictions to allow our program to be available for their constituents. And the reason we have to do that is because PACE was originated through, it is a state law that allows these improvements to be paid back through the property tax bill. So once you apply for the financing, then we send out a notice of special tax lien to the county to be recorded. So now you have a notice of special tax lien recorded on that property under California Home Finance Authority Clean Energy. That's how it would show up. So that will then, towards the end of the fiscal year, on June 30th, we have a third-party financial services provider that collects all the projects, works with the county. This is what goes on the tax roll in order for that property owner to pay us, to basically pay us back. That's kind of how the mechanism works.
I'm not going to attempt to pronounce your last name, sir.
It's easy.
Can I call you George?
Yeah, absolutely.
George, this program, is this what they refer to as a super lien or a bond?
There's been some different terminology. Essentially, it is a priority lien, just like your taxes. It's the same thing, your property taxes.
So, under this program, should I elect to install a $35,000 system on my roof, and I sign up for a 20-year payback program through our property taxes, and now in year 10, I decide I want to sell my home, and I still have the outstanding liability that we're paying for through our taxes. Is that payback based on the 10-year period I lived and possessed that? Or is the payback considered the full term of the 20-year special lien or bond? That's the question that came up.
Yeah, no, it's whatever's remaining. So if you've already paid your 10 years.
And I got 10 years left to go on it.
You have, just like a regular loan, right? You have your remaining 10 years of principal. Let's say, we get this question asked a lot. If you're selling your home, you've already paid 10 years, right? On this voluntary tool that you chose. Should the new buyer decide that they would like to keep that for whatever reason, they could do so. Okay,
assumable.
Absolutely, and they would just have 10 years remaining on it.
Okay.
At the same time, they could choose that. You know what? I love your house, but I want that paid off. You guys can work that out within the sales contract. That can be paid off through escrow.
But the amount left to be paid off would still be the entire 20-year commitment?
No, it would be the 10 years left, the 10 years of principal left.
Okay, so...
Just like a regular loan, right? You're paying off your car, let's say you had 10 years, or your house,
right? If you
right?
pay off your house early on a regular mortgage loan,
Yeah.
you wouldn't be paying interest on the...
Absolutely not.
And that's the same program you have here?
Absolutely. It's exactly the same thing. You have 10 years remaining. It's that, if you want to pay it off, it's that 10 years of principal, not 20 years, or not 10 years of principal and interest. It's
and
whatever.
The remaining time is assumable.
Whatever that 10-year principal is.
What's FHA look at this program?
FHA, their guidelines, about 2010, they didn't feel comfortable with the super priority position. And so, Fannie and Freddie said that we're not comfortable with that. They haven't, and so we're waiting on some guidelines from them too. One thing that we found is that it's a very small percentage of the $400 million that we've approved that are Fannie Freddie loans. Most of them are going to be your other lenders that are out there. Now, having said that, there are, a lot of the other PACE programs have stopgaps in place where they'll do like a contractual subordination. There are things in place like that. That's not something we've had to do. And in addition to, we've had, $400 million approved. We've had 0 lates. So there have been no defaults since our inception. And should we need to do a contractual subordination with the lender, we have that option. But to date, that's not something we've had to do. What happens is, in our case, because Senate Bill 555 amended Mello-Roos, mortgage lenders have been comfortable underwriting Mello-Roos taxes for 30 years. So they understand what it is. And when we record the special tax lien, we're only recording the maximum annual payment. We're not recording the entire bulk assessment. Whereas the other model records the entire bulk assessment. And so that's why early on at PACE you had a lot of mortgage lenders requesting payoff of the tax lien. They didn't quite understand it. a lot of things were getting missed up front from in a sale of a property. The realtors weren't catching that there was this notice of a special assessment with that model, that there was a special assessment lien under Schedule B of the preliminary title report, under taxes. They weren't seeing that. So then you'd have, things kind of pop up at the 11th hour during a real estate transaction. What happened here? So a lot of these things, I think it's a new thing. It's an educational process. People are starting to figure, okay, well, we need to look for this now. But in any case, the fact that the amended Melrose tax is a more flexible model. It's a model that mortgage lenders understand. And, we've had maybe less than 2% of our tax liens being paid off.
This is not a government program, correct?
Correct.
I don't mean to put you on the spot, George.
No.
Wasn't there a CBS Channel 2 expose article on Y-Green in this particular issue?
There was an expose. It showed Y-Green, and it showed it focused more on Hero. But essentially what that program showed was that how contractors were misrepresenting the program. Now, a lot of the things that I saw in the video, the contractor, at least that on the Y-Green side, it wasn't that it was inaccurate, it just didn't give more details, right? Now, you can't go around saying it's a government program, because it's not a government program. This is a public-private partnership. It's a program that is privately financed, right? So it's not taxpayers' dollars. And when we looked at that video, the first thing that we did is we suspended the contractor so we can gather all the facts. As I mentioned earlier, we have like this zero-tolerance contractor policy, but it's not an automatically you're guilty, right? Let's look at the facts and see what's happening. So we're in that process right now. The contractor's been suspended until we figure out. Now, the good thing about the video for everybody is that, hey, listen, this is a training opportunity for every company and for every contractor not to do that. Now, having said that, there's always going to be one bad apple in the bunch, right? You're always going to have a rogue contractor that's out there. You're always going to have, whether it's in our industry, whether it's in the lending industry, it doesn't matter. You're always going to have something that comes up, because you can't police everything. But we have all these measures in place, and we've had them from the very beginning. This is our policy, which we misrepresent the program. You get suspended, but if it's blatantly obvious up front, well, then you're off. And we have removed contractors from the program. They've tried to get back in with the same business license, if you believe it or not, with a different name. We're like, no, you're not coming back in. So it's very serious, because it is a public-private partnership. It's me and you and I representing a program for the community. We want to make sure it works and works well.
Well, my main concern is our senior population in our county. I want to make sure that they understand what you're getting into when you go into a program like this and what the ramifications are.
Sure.
Sometimes they're surprised, especially when it comes time to downsize or move to a smaller facility or move out of town or live with son and daughter and things. And I guess the message I want to get across is buyer beware, seller be honest. And that's what I want to make sure that we're doing here.
Yeah. So and again, that's something that we all want the same thing, but sometimes you also have to do your due diligence, right? We all have to do that. We have to be careful what we're reading, what we're signing for, because nobody wants to, come down the road 6 months later going, what the heck did I sign up for? I don't want to do that.
That's some of the information that's been provided to me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's accurate. I'm just
right.
saying that's
I agree.
been provided.
I understand.
Thank you, George.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just one of the things that you mentioned, Supervisor Oliveira, about our seniors, and hopefully I'll get this right. If not, Barbara Sullivan, our treasurer tax collector, can correct me, is that we have a senior postponement program whereby seniors, the state will pay the taxes and put a lien on the property. And if they're involved in the senior postponement program, they are not eligible for the PACE program.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public?
Good presentation. Taxpayer Association is opposed to this. We see a lot of solar panels going up in the county and other improvements, but they're not backed by the tax collector. In the mortgage market, which took a long time to develop, there's protections for the borrower. These protections are in the form of full disclosure. You can't get a loan without detailed explanation of the consequences of what you're doing. In California, this is a deed of trust state, not a mortgage state, which means you have a third party, the trustee, holding the deed to the property, and that deed can be transferred to the beneficiary if the borrower breaks his agreement and doesn't make the payments. There's a process of 90 days where the loan can be reinstated. Then it goes to sale for another 21 days. And even then, the loan can be reinstated. However, when you start to collect on a loan using the county tax collector, major problems emerge. There is some cases where it could be good, but the potentiality of harm is much greater. And this is in the form, California requires that taxes be placed number one. They're the number one claim on a property, taxes. Okay, if the taxes are fairly reasonable, that works pretty well. If the taxes get convoluted or go out of sight, real problems start to occur. Lenders want to be in first place. They want to make sure they have plenty of equity above them. However, if there's a loan going through the tax collector, it's an obligation that's ahead of them.
30 seconds.
They won't loan. They won't loan. So the Taxpayer Association recommends that you do not take part in this. Thank you.
Answer this real quick. One thing about the tax collection, should something go into default, we actually take responsibility of collecting that potential late or default payment ourselves. And what we do is we actually take it off the roll. We do not let the county, in other words, burden them with collecting something that's due to us. So we will take charge in that matter in collecting from the property owner. We will not, supersede any type of property, the actual property taxes being paid after we get paid. I mean, we will do our own collection on our own. And then furthermore, there's, like I said before, with the mortgage lenders, before that, the state of California actually has a loan loss reserve set up of $10 million for the PACE program. And to date, not once has that been dipped into. And like I mentioned before, Y-Green, we've had zero lates on any of our projects. And furthermore, the mortgage lenders that are out there, the Wells Fargos, the B of A's and whatnot, when they look at the Melrose model, because they're so comfortable in underwriting with Melrose taxes, the property owners do have a much better chance of refinancing their mortgages and keeping the lien on there. The same thing in a real estate transaction. It's a greater chance of keeping that on there with their new mortgage lender. And one thing to note is that in regards to, being this a super priority lien, there's a I just noticed that Fannie and Freddie kind of came out with their own version of it. So just something to know. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Melinda Hoff, and I am a realtor in Calaveras County. I'm also a director for the Calaveras County Association of Realtors and region chair for the California Association of Realtors. For the record and full disclosure, I am here today speaking on behalf of myself and not for the Calaveras County Association of Realtors. And the reason they've taken no position on this is because it's foreign to most people in this area. But as a director for the state, I've been dealing with this issue in Transaction Regulatory Committee for 5 to 6 years now. It's a huge issue in the state of California, particularly San Diego, that was the first ones that took on the PACE program. I don't have a problem with the goal of PACE financing. I understand it. The concern is that it's a super priority loan. I had a lot of notes. There was supposed to be someone else speaking today, and they're not here, so I'm trying to get their presentation in with mine, and it's a bit jumbled. It's not cheap, but it's really easy to get. It's like that low-interest credit card that changes after 6 months, you know. And the problems arise when you're refinancing or selling your house, because it is a lien against the property, and it takes precedence over the mortgage because it is on the property tax. Some PACE programs will subordinate its lien, and I understand there's a fee for that generally. But in California, it's not a true subordination because California law gives assessment liens the super priority. That's where that comes in. So this not only affects people trying to refinance their house or sell their house, it affects buyers. It's a chain reaction because this is a priority. He mentioned Freddie and Fannie, you know, not being really willing to go along with. Do you know how many other loans there are besides Freddie and Fannie in the conventional market? Not very many. FHA, because of the California's little insurance policy, is bending a little bit more, but not so much. I mean, it's the money, they push the money in their advertising. This is, I guess, my big problem. In the advertising, it's all the good parts and not the bad parts.
30 seconds.
Okay, where California Association of Realtors has taken a stand, there is a bill right now, it's AB 2693, it's on the assembly floor, it's passed out of a couple committees. It's for enhanced disclosure language, for rights of rescission, notice of offer to subordinate, and prominent notice of the fact that refinancing or selling is at risk with PACE financing. And I thank you for hearing me out today.
I'm smiling because I'm thinking of all those panels on my roof that the county's going to pay for. There are a lot of retired people in our community in Calaveras County. And I've twice in the past looked at changing my source of electricity with solar panels. And there's a couple of problems. One, it's very, very expensive. You mentioned $35,000. We came up with $43,000 on an 1,800 square foot house in Reno. $43,000. That goes as a loan. Yeah, you can load it onto your mortgage if your mortgage will stand it. It's not a problem. But I've yet to be convinced by any attorney that when push comes to shove, this company that's going to do this work for me is actually going to not take first place. I think what I'm saying is this. We're selling solar panels here and under-sink water heaters and bathroom shower water heaters, and we're going to use electricity to make the hot water. But who benefits? If you pay $35,000 to put solar panels on your roof, two things are going to happen. You're never going to get the money back through your electricity bill. Never. You could die and never pay it off if your electricity bill was $200 a month and you got rid of it with solar panels and you pay $35,000 for the solar panels, divide it by 200, you'll find out. It's a ploy to sell a product that's always been hard to sell. And the final thing I want to say is this. We did quite a lot of research into solar panels. If you can find solar panels that don't need replacing within 15 years, I'll buy you lunch. They don't exist. Solar panels have a lifespan. And you could pay $35,000 doing your roof today, and in 12 or 13 years you're going to start replacing those panels because they don't have a finite lifetime. That's while you're paying and losing the $200 a month because your electricity is suddenly effectively gone up in price because of the solar panels.
30
I'm
seconds.
sorry. I'll finish and thank you. I don't think we should get involved in anything where the immediate benefit doesn't go to the house owner or to the property owner, and at the same time, the county shouldn't be involved in improving my house. That's not fair on you.
I'm Peter Race from Jenny Lynn. I emailed, except, Chris, I don't have your email address, but you have it on your little notebook that I just sent you, what little thing I dug up on the computer. California upset that they can't sell their house. Basically, the bottom boils down to is, I don't want to put a bad notation to it, crony capitalism. We've been getting solar panel problems. I'm even having a fight with PG&E. I'm going to tell PG&E to stick it someplace where the sun don't shine, and I'm going to go off the grid because I produce more electricity than I need. They used to pay me $400 or $500 a year. Now they want me to pay for the privilege of having a solar panel electricity they can use. So anyway, so I'm going to do a little bit of duking out. But it's a private corporation. It's wonderful. I don't know what they have in a bank, but I don't know how financially liable they are, how much money, how much asset they have. I'd like to know the stockholders. I mentioned like 3 companies in here. They've been in business since 2002. I want to know how many they accomplished, how many assets they have out there, and what's the interest rate they're charging. If somebody pays off their solar panels, if that solar panel is going to be theirs and they can take it with them, like I will, if I decide to. If somebody doesn't want my house with the solar panels, they say, hey, I take it with me wherever I move. The new program through all these wonderful energy companies, clean energy companies, you buy it, they take a tax credit, and they put it on your mortgage. So all it is, it's a private company, and I'm sure it's a wonderful company, a wonderful presentation, a very nice guy. They want you to make sure that you collect the money for them. Maybe you had a chance to talk to Barbara. She's an elected official. She can decide on it herself. They don't need to be a district for this private enterprise.
30 seconds.
So if they want to do the business, they can do the business. But they want to make sure that the county will collect for them. So take a look at it. Take a look in a horse's mouth, folks. Be careful. It's not that clear. And talk to all the people that he mentioned that they should look into it. I'd like to know what Rebecca Cowan has to say and Leslie has to say about it. They're above my pay grade. They know more than I do. But I get very suspicious when somebody wants to give me something for nothing. Thank you.
Lori White, just a real quick comment, ladies and gentlemen. I just wonder why the county has to be involved in this. If it's a private company, let them get financing wherever they will. Why do we have to pay staff at the county tax collector's office to collect this additional money for them? What's the point?
Rosemary Wilson, Luke Hill and Arnold. I agree with Laurie here. It seems that Well, what I would like to know is what are the costs going to be, direct and indirect, short and long term, for the county taking this on? It seems like it's, I'm not judging the product. I just question the county's need to get involved in it. Thank you.
A couple of things. Number one, in regards to the disclosures, we're an open book company. I mean, PACE is open book. We have 22-page disclosures that go to the property owner before they sign any document. That's actually our document. We walk the property owners through every single stopgap that we have in place, talking about FHA's position, talking about the sale of a property, talking about refinancing. It's all there. It's open book. We talk about every single point. In regards to the cost to the county, again, there's no cost to the county. All the county is doing here is just making this program available. Should you choose to use it, then that process would take place. But there is no cost to the taxpayers. Golden State Finance Authority is overseeing the projects. Golden State Finance Authority, the JPA, is taking the burden off staff for this. Okay? Costs, I believe heard costs mentioned as well. These interest rates are fixed for whatever term you choose. Your payment will remain the same year after year for the term you choose. So on a 5-year, it's as low as 5.99%, 6% on commercial, 6.5%, 6.25% on residential. You can do a 20-year. You have a 5, 10, 15, and 20-year. 20 years as high as 8.25%. So those are the costs associated from an interest rate standpoint. There are program fees. There's, for every project, there's a 3% origination. That's how the private institutions make their money. There's an annual fee that goes to the county of maybe $20, which just offsets the cost for the collecting. And there's also the notice of special tax lien that gets recorded. You guys charge whatever your fees are, your customary fees for that too, and the same thing with the annual. So I hope that addresses some of the questions that were brought up. But again, it's full disclosure. We actually abide by the truth in lending standards, even though PACE is not required to. We've been doing it since day one. And like I mentioned before, we've had 0 defaults since our inception. And we just securitized $250 million through for our expansion across the country. So we're in a very good position financially. There's a lot of interest into what we do, and we have many, many happy homeowners that have elected to use our financing, and whether it's windows and doors or solar, they've taken advantage of the cost savings. So I'll be around later if anyone wants to talk about, you mentioned solar, I can get you more specifics with some good certified contractors as well as run the numbers with you. That's all. Thanks.
So not just windows, doors, solar, but also
water conservation.
And what about insulation, things like that?
Yeah. As long as it's improving the energy efficiency of your home, it's saving you water. Like gray water recycling systems are a big thing. We cover those costs. If you want to put in drought-resistant landscaping, we cover those costs. And the other thing, too, this is so different than it was 10 years ago in the lending industry, when people are borrowing $1 million with no income, no assets, on 100% financing for $1 million. This is entirely different. You're maxed out at 15% of what you can borrow. In other words, 15% of the fair market value of your home. So if it's worth, $100,000, you've got 10% equity, you can only borrow up to $15,000. And it can't supersede 95 to 100% of the total LTV of the property. So on average, our loan amounts are maybe $15,000, $16,000 on these projects. So it's about, $100 a month to $200 a month, let's say, if it's $20,000, and that's offsetting a lot of the energy costs that these property owners are paying. So when you look at it, it's the net savings go back to the property owner. The net goes back to the environment, right? It goes back, the net to us as a financial institution. It comes full circle. So that's it.
Bonnie Newman from Double Springs. I'm really making an attempt to limit myself to home care issues. But now I've only been in the county for 42 years. I've only been a taxpayer here for 42 years. But I feel I have just as much right as every other crackpot in the county to come up here and expound upon my philosophy. But this gentleman probably should have been warned that anytime you talk about efficiency or conservation or ecology, it's not very well received in our county. There's just an ingrained opposition to saving something for the future. It seems people want to use everything now, waste it now, ruin it now. There's no tax dollars involved here. But you know what? If there were tax dollars involved, I'd be supportive as long as it was equitable. Everybody was taxed the same. Any attempt to save energy, to save resources, to save our environment needs to be explored, or there ain't going to be any environment or future to protect. I might be interested in investigating what these folks have to offer for a rural homeowner in Calaveras County who's very low income and getting lower all the time. So I hope you consider this. I think it would be beneficial, and if somebody is not interested in this program, they don't have to apply for it. Thank you.
Tanya Dawson from Valley Springs, and I just wanted to join the others that spoke in opposition. The others made a lot of good points ahead of me. I see this as crony capitalism. Their special contractors get the special deals. And also, I see a huge red flag of this getting ensnared into our property tax system. And I don't want it to have anything to do with our property tax system. I think it needs to, if they're a private company, they can do their own private company and just keep government out of it, keep them separate. So I'm opposed to the public-private partnership, and I want it to stay away from the property taxes. Thank you.
Barbara, could you comment on it, please?
Good morning, Barbara Sullivan, Treasurer Tax Collector. They all have very good points. If the plan gets put into effect, you don't have to join it. You can be a part of it. The part that I have a problem is the county financing, but we're not. So that's not seen there. It's private financing. Any special assessment we currently have that we collect for pays a fee, like they would be doing. But they're an outside entity. We've always had just government entities doing it, like CCWD, special districts. So that's new to me. Reaching out to my counterparts, it's new to them too. So the only thing is the super priority lien versus where everybody else fits in for lenders and things like that. We are county government, so our taxes are protected. So it's just the mechanisms. It seems like they're in place, and the payment that they would pay per fee per parcel would cover putting it on the roll. And then they would pay the fees, like they said, for the liens and all that. The auditor controller would be placing it on there, so that's where the fee comes in also. And the only thing that gets a little shady is when people pay their taxes, if they're upset with their taxes, they might short the payment of that, but then it just goes back. Because once we put it part of the tax bill, they have to pay it in whole. And we've seen that like with co-compliance issues.
Right.
So, but if it's a loan that's going forward, I think the beginning part would be the tough part, get it set. But after that, when it's in place, it should be just a normal thing. Similar to Saddle Creek, they have a mellow roof, and that's in place. So, not too many issues there. So. Any questions?
So there's no cost to the county?
There is cost for us putting on the roll, and actually, when they say collecting, we are collecting it. It's putting a separate fund, but that we're being paid for to do.
So it's offset?
Correct.
Just so I understand, there is going to be some cost to the county, but that cost is covered by the fees that you'll charge the financing entity. Is that correct?
Correct. It's all through them. It doesn't go to the taxpayer for that. It's just a loan between them and the taxpayer is what I'm getting, and they probably charge a fee in there maybe for the assisting of us doing it. I don't know that part. But yeah, the fee associated would be to us, right?
Right. The fee, there are fees to the county for putting it on the property tax too, and I worked with Rebecca and Barbara to include those in the agreement.
And the other one was the senior postponement. Right now, at this moment, it's not in place until October, and that's probably a group of about 50 to 80 people we're talking there. I'm not sure if they could pass it, they could not. At this point, they haven't. So it may be that they do. I don't know. That one's still up in the air. So I can keep you up to date on that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Just to clarify to you, we're a separate line item on the property tax bill. It'll say, for example, Melrose, Clean Energy, Calaveras, and there's our phone number there as well. Should there be any questions at that point in time, if they have what this is or whatnot, which, if that is there, but it's just a separate line item, so it's all separated. Okay.
So the one thing that I heard through this was people got kind of stuck on solar. Excuse me, sir. The question was, I know Peter brought up, was solar. Could you answer that question once? Because a lot of solar companies now, you'll never own the solar, right?
Oh, well, you can actually. It comes down to a couple of things. And again, I'm not a solar expert, but from what I've learned is that, number one, you can own the solar. That you buy it. You definitely want to buy solar and own it. The warranty on solar panels now is at least 25 years. Okay? So depending on your usage, because it all depends on how much you use, right? You're depending on the size of your home. Do you already have energy efficiency, doors, windows, insulation, roof? That's like the first thing, I used to be in construction, so as a consultative point of view, get all that stuff done first before you put solar on. Because if you've got a 1,500 square foot home and you upgrade your doors, your windows, your roof, et cetera, your insulation, you might not need solar for the time being, right? Once you get that in place, then you put solar on, then, if you've got it, you can get that down to 100% off the grid almost. I mean, it just all depends on your usage and how your property's structured from an energy efficiency standpoint. So if your bill is $300 a month, you own the solar, you take the tax credit. So that $30,000 solar project, based on your income, you're going to get 30% tax credit. You're not going to get a check handed to you. Okay? Just so everyone knows that. It's a tax credit. So you do receive that 30%, the property owner who chooses to buy. There are lease programs. There are power purchase agreements. Those are separate. The companies take the tax credit on that. Okay? Because they're leasing it out. Buying solar, your property owner receives the tax credit, and so the cost savings go down, increase dramatically. So your expenditure for your energy goes down dramatically. And again, all of that can be discussed, on calculators with the right contractors that, look at the scope of the project, see what's in there. But like I said, make sure you've got everything insulated first before you go to solar. That's my recommendation. That way it's a net.
In this county, there's a number of people living in a bunch of older houses. And a lot of them living in a bunch of older houses without insulation, I might add. Floors, ceilings, walls, old windows. And a lot of them, like in Butte Fire was a good example, I think, that there were a lot of folks up there living in places that were, people were probably in the wintertime, the fireplace was probably working about 4 feet from where it was sitting, because in a lot of cases it was really cold. And they didn't really have opportunity to do the upgrades. Like some people were saying earlier, many of the seniors are on a fixed income, prices are going up around them, and they can't do anything more for themselves other than just live. And so all they have left in many cases is their property. And I kind of look at this a couple of different ways. I understand the need to be responsible, and what happened in the past with overextending people's properties and lending on properties and all of that irresponsible purchasing of loans and things like that. I kind of like the idea of people having an opportunity to be able to improve their lifestyle a little bit, be able to, if they're cold, to be able to maybe be warm for winter, or if it's too darn hot, to be able to maybe cool off a little bit. If they can't afford to be able to do that year after year. Energy use is huge, for a lot of people. PG&E is not getting any cheaper. I can tell you that. I know people that have older homes, like from the 40s up or 50s up even, that are paying in the wintertime for 5 or 6 months. Their energy bill is somewhere around $500-600 a month because they're using natural gas in San Andreas. Imagine if you're out in the country where you're using propane or just electric for 5 or 6 months out of the year. My mom, who has a super energy efficient home, actually, she's paying $200-300 a month, and that's still pretty high for her, and she's on fixed income. So she's lucky, and there's a lot of folks out here that aren't that lucky. So for me, it's more about a person's choice, as long as there's disclosure, and giving them that opportunity to make that choice, and to be able to have a little better way of life, a little comfort in their life if they choose to do that, if they're able to. And so, that's why I would choose to support this. I know that there's Realtors Association is taking a no stance on it right now, but I also know that they have, I know I was at their gigantic meeting that they were, they have stuff in Senate right now that they want to change some of the disclosures and things like that, which I think they'll probably get through because they're a pretty big organization. They're a good organization. And so, but really it's about disclosures and explaining to people what they're getting into, and if you're doing that, then it's a person's choice. I don't want to run somebody's life.
Right.
If they don't want to get into it, they don't have to.
Correct.
So that's how I feel about it. Anybody else want to comment on that? No? No. Okay.
No, he answered questions.
I did want to mention one thing. If the board chooses to move forward with the PACE program, items number 3, 4, and 5 will require board approval. If the board chooses not to move forward with the PACE program with number 3, then the other 2 items are no longer needed to be acted on.
Okay. So I'll look for a motion on item number 3.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Have a second? No second? Okay. I'll make the second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, so
It fails to pass.
fails to pass.
So we will just move past 4 and 5 because if you can't approve one without the other 2.
Right. Okay, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Be with us, right? All right, so we'll be on to agenda item number 6.
Item 6 is from the Administrative Office to receive a presentation of the 2015 Library Commission Annual Report.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Jack Kuhn. I'm chairman of the Library Commission. And as promised, I want to give you an update on what we've been doing in the past year. In 2015, the Calaveras County Library Commission focused on increasing public awareness of the county library system. Through a grant obtained by Mari Hoekstra, former county librarian, Sally Reed from United for Libraries provided a 2-day consultation on conducting a library awareness and advocacy campaign. Several commissioners attended the consultation, and a public awareness campaign, PAC, committee was formed. The PAC worked on publicity materials and events to highlight and bring attention to the services, resources, and needs of all library locations. The PAC updated the Commission regularly on their progress. The Commission made a commitment to the Board of Supervisors to provide updates on the work of the Commission through collaboration with library employees and individual Friends of the Library groups. The PAC, the Commission, is informed on current status of each individual branch throughout the county, as well as the system as a whole. The Commission also worked with the county to address maintenance needs and concerns at several library locations, including the roof at the Murphy's branch, the parking lots at San Andreas and Arnold branches. Moving forward, the Commission will assist the incoming librarian, Nancy Giddens, during her transition. Our focus will be to work with Nancy on developing a plan to address information technology issues, including items such as computers, software, internet upgrades, developing maintenance and repair needs list to submit to the county, and providing budget advice as needed. We will continue to review to determine the practicality of County Ordinance 254, establishing a County Library Commission approved on November 7, 1961. We will also work to clearly define the role of the Commission in 2016, specifically distinguishing differences between the Commission and Friends of the Library groups. And I would like to thank Nancy for being here, and also Kate Garahan, who put together all the input for this report. And I'll answer any questions if I can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any public comments? None? Board comments?
No, just thank you to all of them for the work you've done and continue to do, and maintaining our systems. And it is yeoman's work that you've done, and I want you to know we appreciate it, or I do. I'm sure everybody does.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it.
So, I know how much you guys, much effort you put into maintaining the libraries and all the work you do around it. Been involved with Friends of the Library, through Shirley Huberty for many years. And it is amazing what you've done for our library systems. And I certainly appreciate it. I'm glad you guys, we have, a new librarian.
Just on a separate note, we had a Friends of the Library booth at the county fair this year, and we, tried to spread the word.
Yeah. So please keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And the community definitely needs the libraries, and hopefully we can someday get to a point where we can all support the libraries even more. But we appreciate you guys stepping forward in this lull of the time that we're having. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item 7 is from the Administrative Office to receive a report from the Board Chair, Department Heads, Cal OES, and FEMA update on Butte fire recovery.
Good morning, Brian Moss, Administrative Office. As the board's aware, we're continuing to make a lot of progress on the Butte fire recovery. Unfortunately, we're moving into our next catastrophic event, and that's tree mortality. That's a subject for, and actually later in the day when you go to your consent agenda. But what I do have to report, we are down to the last load. I know Mel Knight is here, and he can give more detail on this. I think it involved building a bridge. The last load for debris removal, that's the Cal Recycle, Environmental Health, that whole program, as you're well aware of, will be at 2 p.m. on Thursday, the 26th, at the end of Baker Riley Road. So there'll be a little media. The media is invited to that as well. So just want to let you know, we are obviously really very, very close. And one of the next major recovery objects, I know Mr. Krovitz was here, will be the burn tree removal program. So that's the next up online, just so you know. And on that, I can tell you that the RFP for the arborist was issued, and I want to believe that the contract, that they're working on that now. So that what they'll be doing is coordinating between the arborists going out and looking at the burn trees, not the tree kill from tree mortality, but the burn trees, and then having a contractor come in behind that and start moving on the tree removal as well. So with that said, any questions?
So we'll be having the contract for the arborist on the 14th?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That'd be correct.
Brian?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Do you think Jeff's going to come back, or?
I don't know. I thought he was going to be here for this.
Okay.
Is there a public works question?
Two questions. One on the grants. He's coming. Okay, here he comes.
Okay, excellent. FMAG and HMGP and probably the, okay. Yes.
Thank you. Mel Knight, Environmental Management Agency, liaison to burn debris removal program. As Brian mentioned, the final load is expected for this Thursday. That will be the 850th property that had structural burn debris removed. Excuse me. That's about twice the original estimate for properties to be in the program. The program, by all accounts, has been a tremendous success. As we heard about landfill capacity and other issues today, if you think without this program, where all this waste has been recycled, diverted, taken, so it hasn't taken up all the airspace and activity here in the community, all been done within an 8-month period. It's a pretty phenomenal accomplishment. Again, the other thing I'll note, by the way, is we originally thought there would be quite a few properties that would go through a separate process, a self-certification process, To date, there's only 3 properties that have chosen adoption. Of those, 1 is completed, another is making good progress, and we're still working on the 3rd. There was concern also about nuisance abatement properties. And so far, it looks like we'll only have 2 or 3 properties at most that may have to undergo that process. So it's been, again, well accepted, and it's been quite effective as it relates to the removals. The next phase will be following the final removal. The contractors will amass all their cost, turn the cost into the state. The state will then get a property-specific cost data. They will share that with the county. The county will then invoice those property owners with homeowners insurance to recover that portion that was specific for debris removal. And again, that is expected to not begin until another 3 to 6 months from now because of all the data collection and activity that has to go on. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
No, thanks for spreading the good news, though. Thank you.
Congratulations, good job.
Jeff Krowitz, Public Works. A quick report on our progress for recovery. We went out for a contract for an arborist to quantify and qualify the remaining burned trees within the burn area so that we can then pass that data on to a contractor for removal. That item will be in front of the board for approval on the 14th of June. We hope to follow soon thereafter with our first tree removal contract. And there will be a number of them. We're hoping that we can get some small local businesses on those tree removals as well as some larger contracts. Staff is also continuing to work on the PA and ER programs for road repair. We have completed, I think, half a dozen road repair DAFs, damage assessment forms, that Federal Highway needs on the ER program. And then finally, for the FMAG grant for erosion sediment control on private property in the Mokelumne River Basin, the MOU was approved by the Amador Board of Supervisors between Amador and Calaveras County last Thursday, and this will be in front of this board on the 31st. Any questions?
What about the HMGP grant? Is that one moving forward?
Both those grants were shipped off to Cal OES a month and a half ago and forwarded off to FEMA, and I haven't heard response back. So I'm assuming that we don't have any problems, but I will follow up with telephone calls to Cal OES.
Okay. Could you let me know today?
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that too. I get a lot of conversation with folks out there about it. I constantly, reassure them that you're on top of it, and then they call me back and go, what about this? And then so, anytime you have information that gives an update, even if it's negative, just let me know so I can.
Okay.
I do have a couple of questions regarding the improvements of ingress, egress on houses that are being rebuilt and requiring upgrades of those. I'm getting some concern with folks on that. What's our policy on that?
I'm assuming that what you're talking about is there's a home within the Butte Fire area that was burned and is getting reconstructed, and Public Works inspectors are looking again at their encroachments to the public roadway?
Yes.
Okay. The permits require by ordinance an encroachment permit for the reconstruction, and we are looking to see that if historically the encroachment didn't meet site distance standards, we are attempting to work with the property owners. We don't have a hard and fast policy. We don't feel like we have the right to force them to comply, but we're asking if we can cooperate together to at least make improvements so that we're not continuing with potentially blind spots that would put either the resident or the public traffic at risk.
Yeah,
Okay.
I understand the difficulty that you're in. You want to make sure that it meets the safety requirements, but also we want to encourage people to rebuild. So it's a tricky thing.
It is.
Are you requiring them to put money down or pay for that permit work?
Yes, that's required by ordinance.
maybe we could, take a look at, a way to streamline that, reduce the cost for the people who are trying to rebuild after a catastrophic event like this at the board level.
The fees associated with the encroachment permit for a private driveway onto a county road or a private road onto a county road is fixed by ordinance and based on cost recovery. So if the board chooses to reduce that fee, then I'm assuming that the cost over and above what's being recovered would have to be identified from somewhere else.
Yeah, well, I'm just want to, and this is picking one piece of the puzzle of the whole rebuilding process out. So what I'm saying is maybe we need to have a discussion around the whole rebuilding process and make sure that it moves as smoothly as possible. Because that's just one of the many issues that have come up and that will continue to be brought up as the years go by. So I just want to make sure that the public realizes we're trying to do everything we can to help them streamline and be able to rebuild after having their homes destroyed. Because, a lot of people are deciding not to rebuild out there. And so I want to do everything in our power to make sure that we encourage the rebuilding. And so anything that we can do to help your Public Works Department, that's what I'd like to be able to do.
Would it be helpful for you and I to sit down and go over the details of this offline, or what are you thinking?
Well, I'm not sure. We could do that first, but I don't want to put it just on your shoulders, to try to make these difficult calls. I want to be able to have it be, the board's responsibility to help, decide what to do going forward and what's the fair process. Because I don't think it's fair just to say, when I get people who are trying to rebuild, and I say, well, it's Jeff's fault that you're, having these problems, because it's not. That's not really fair. So that's what I think that maybe, maybe we could resolve it offline, and that's, I always prefer that, but I also don't want to, put all the responsibility just on you.
So I'll give you an example. There's a lot of homes up there that were before the encroachment law.
Right.
And like my house, for instance. So if my house is in town here, if it burnt down, I would be required nowadays, as a new permit, to also pay for the encroachment. And so there are bunches of them up there that had older homes. And now that they're rebuilding with the newer permit process, they have to get encroachments. They have to do encroachments, which is an added cost to their rebuild. Not to mention the sprinklers systems or whatever fire system they have to have, plus the upgrades on all of the building that they have to do because of the new fire codes. And if they have a longer driveway, they have to do turnouts and everything else, which adds, maybe another $20,000 or $30,000 to their building costs, which means they're not going to rebuild in a lot of cases. A lot of cases. Which means we lose them as residents in a lot of cases. And it's something I think that we should consider. We're losing a lot of folks behind that. And I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do. These folks were just fine before the fire came along. Just fine. And now they're not. And it's hard enough just going up there and even looking at the property that they once lived on because it's all destroyed. So I think that's probably what Chris is talking about.
I think this is a much wider discussion because it involves not only county code, but state code, state requirements in building. So I would suggest that you give the land use department some time to look at those issues in the next month or so. They used to have a regular meeting almost every week. I don't know if that's still ongoing, to bring forth some recommendations to the board in the next month or so.
What CAO, as Ryan is referring to, is a land use committee that's made up of Public Works, Environmental Health, Planning, County Council's office, and occasionally admin. And I can certainly agendize this for discussion and see if that committee can bring recommendations back to the board.
That'd be really great.
Okay. Are you guys okay if it's not next month, if we have a month and a half or something to?
Well, I'm just concerned about those folks that are, right now kind of going up.
Yeah, we just had the cleanup. We got people that are trying to go through the permit process right now. Some of them are just saying, see you later. I don't want to hold them up too much longer. I'd like them to know, at least here in the public process, that we are looking at it. So maybe by end of next month, if that would be okay.
End of June?
Yeah. Would that be okay with you, Chris? That's, 3 meetings away.
Okay.
Is that all right with you?
I'll do the best I can. Yes.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do.
I know you're really busy, Jeff. I know that. Thank you. We'll just we'll get Peter on it.
Yeah, Peter hasn't done. Peter doesn't have much to do.
PG&E and what are they doing out there with their the down trees along roadways? Have they cleared all those out of there? Or, I heard they weren't hauling them down to the yard in Wallace. I don't know if you have any update on their activities.
I have a limited update on that. The yard in Wallace, which is primarily taking the logs that have come off the PG&E easements within the burn perimeter, is a chipping yard, and they are under contract both with PG&E, and they also sell commercially to a manufacturer of mulch. But when I last spoke to the operator of that yard 2 weeks ago, he indicated that his contract with PG&E was nearly up. And the equipment being utilized for those chipping operations were being funded by PG&E as part of support for those treatments. In terms of the log decks that are on private lands, I really can't speak to those. And I don't want to speak to those because I've only heard rumors that I have not yet confirmed through PG&E. I did send out a couple of requests to PG&E to ask them about the disposition of the log decks that were stacked either within county right-of-way or adjacent county right-of-way that would be within, say, a clear recovery zone of a vehicle or something like that. They responded indicating they would get back to me, but they haven't yet, and that was early last week. But what I have noticed is that many of the log decks, especially those along Mountain Ranch Road, are now gone. They have been moved out. So while I still see log decks on private property away from county right-of-way, I'm not seeing near as many adjacent. So my assumption is that at this point in time, the logs that PG&E contractors are hauling out of the burn area are going to stockpiles on private property, or potentially to the Chinese camp biomass plant, or to the stockpile yard next door to the biomass plant in Sonora, or the last potential, although I don't think that they're taking fire logs, I think it's only rim fire logs. There is a chip plant in Tuolumne County that's also in production. Currently, the largest volume of logs being hauled out are being stockpiled on private property. I'm hoping that industry catches up, and then over time, those logs are being processed.
Thanks. So Smith's Grinding is working in Wallace.
For a little while, maybe.
Yeah, and they're selling to a company that makes
colored mulch.
So there's colored chips, basically.
Yes.
For landscaping. And they're doing a little bit of boards for, barn board and some fence posts and things like that.
Non-structural lumber.
I just talked to a crew that was working on PG&E easement. They're working with property owners to kind of do what the property owner wants. So they're chipping it up, cutting it up, whatever they want. Some of the property owners are not getting any response from PG&E. They're just kind of leaving it there. That's what I'm hearing from property owners.
I've heard very similar things, but I haven't been able to confirm.
That's really not on your plate, though. No. So, but anyhow, I'm just letting you know that. So, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
And the one thing I want to just bring the board up to date on is the RCRC grant through the Golden State Finance Authority.
Excuse me, I can't hear you. See it.
I wanted to bring you up to date on the RCRC grant, the $150,000. We have issued just over $100,000 in grants to fire victims. So we're down to about $50,000. So it looks like we'll easily have that spent by the end of the calendar year, as required by Golden State Finance.
Yeah, there goes the barbecue.
Brian Moss again, Administrative Office. Just wanted to state that regarding the PG&E down trees, I had contacted Mr. Thomas Reeves sometime back. Had not heard that we'd had a continuing problem. My understanding was it was taken care of. If it is not taken care of, please let me know. I will go back to Mr. Reeves and make sure that he's aware to get that resolved. The other issue I want to bring up is the FMAG program. That's a $441,000 program that we're doing some work. No, we're not doing the work, but Amador is going to be doing some work on their side of the river. With that, there was a memorandum of understanding the county council worked very hard on, along with council from Amador County, to put forward, and that will be coming to the board. Apparently, this has been approved by the Amador board already. It will be coming to the board at your next meeting.
Okay, great.
Okay.
That's good. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? No. Thank you.
I'd like to make an announcement regarding, a re-announcement regarding Butte fire recovery. In October, the State Labor Board set aside approximately $50,000 for the victims of the lake and the Butte fire. Those recipients of this money would need to be members in good standing of SEIU 2015, that is, home care workers in Calaveras County, are eligible to receive up to $7,000 in assistance from the State Labor Board. Unfortunately, neither our union nor our public authority or CHHS has been able to notify people of this money that's available. That's why I'm taking this opportunity to announce it once again. If there are any home care workers working for IHSS in Calaveras County who are members in good standing, they are welcome to call me, Newman, on Double Springs, or go to the Welfare Department office where there are forms available to apply for the assistance. When they get that, the forms, they can call me and I can walk them through the process. But to date, there's only been 13 people that have availed themselves of this money, and none of them have been in Calaveras County. So we need to get the word out. I know the fire happened 8 months ago. This is way late, but the money is available, and I would encourage anybody to try and access that money. Thank you.
Rosemary Wilson, as you know, I lost my home on Mountain Ranch Road, and I just hope that I'm not going to have difficulties with getting in and out of my house when I rebuild it. That's just one extra thing that I have to worry about since Chris shared that with me. I had a question. Thank you, Chris. So I had a question regarding a possible grant for infill of holes left by the debris removal crew. I understand several months ago it was brought to your attention by the environmental, by Jason. And I've been away, I haven't heard about any progress on that.
Is there water in it right now?
I beg your pardon?
Is there standing water in it right now?
Not that I'm aware of, because they put a drain ditch thing through. Now comes my follow-up with regard to Calaveras Recovers. You may remember, I certainly do, my speech when it came to the lack of contact that I had as being a signed-up member of this Calaveras, or one of the people who had signed up, and it was a lengthy sign-up. Before I left for England 2 months ago, I heard from another fire victim, a good friend of mine, in, I would like to say, relatively good financial shape, who had relatively good insurance, but found herself, like me, uninsured, not uninsured, but underinsured, that she had gone down to the feed barn, and she was told at the feed barn, of all places, that Calaveras Recovers, if you went along to Jeannie Haywood when she was with the on board, that they were giving out $1,000 to whoever was uninsured and asked for it.
20 seconds.
So she went along and spoke to Jeannie, and I'm told that she got her $1,000. Well, I signed up, like I told you guys, and it was an onerous, it was a process that was emotional for me, even though I thought I was partially over this thing. And I find it hard that people can go along and be given a check, whereas those people who signed up and went through the appropriate channels haven't heard a thing, I mean a single thing, from Calaveras Recovers or those associated with it, with the exception of behavioral health, at which I spoke 2 months ago. So I'm hoping that there's going to be, if there would be money available, that it goes to the needy and not necessarily just to those that walk in and ask for it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on youth fire recovery?
Is there an update with respect? Is there an update with regard to the grant for the fill for the holes that we created?
Nothing right now. We'll have to contact Jason on that. We can get back to you on that, though.
Thank you.
Okay? I'd like to do that. But I'd like to talk about the map. That's on here, right?
That's the next item.
It's the next item.
Next, this electronic device.
So item 8 is from planning. It's reconsideration of an acceptable debris flow risk threshold for the placement of FEMA's manufactured housing units, or MHUs, on private land.
Good morning, Peter Maurer, Planning Director. I was asked by admin to bring this back at your request. Back in April, I think you asked that this be brought back. As you recall, in November, we were right in the midst of the immediate recovery. We're looking at trying to place temporary housing on properties. FEMA had a program, the mobile housing unit. At the last minute, they insisted that the county establish a risk level that we were willing to accept. We brought forward a map. It's on page 42 of your electronic packet, I believe. There were essentially two criteria that we established. One was that if any of the MHUs would be placed in the low-risk threshold area as based on a map prepared by the USGS of the potential debris flow hazard. Also be outside of a 100-year flood event. The combination of those two created the level of risk that we felt was inappropriate. This program is over, and so any action on this map is really sort of moot at this point. All of the MHUs that were available were placed on properties. There were others that were located off-site, out of the fire area itself, and the FEMA program that was sponsoring the placement of these units has been completed. The staff report indicated there were 16 sites that we considered, 14 were found acceptable, and the other 2 were placed elsewhere. And so all those who were taking advantage of the MHU program were able to find a place to place it. I'm not really sure what effect or if there would be, if any, on reconsidering the map at this time. It was a sort of a snapshot in time. That is now, that program is over, and we're continuing to move forward with more permanent housing replacement programs.
Sure. So my concern is having this map voted on by the Board of Supervisors to be a hazardous area, and I'd like to get that removed. Actually, because we voted on the whole map.
Right. Well, the map simply shows where there is the potential within each little minor drainage basin of where debris flow could occur based on a variety of factors that the USGS considered in development of this map. It is not used for any other purpose other than the placement of mobile housing units from FEMA. We do not refer to it in any building permit process. It was simply a requirement that they had for the placement of those units. It's there. It's a part of the public record. Even if we say, I mean, if you want to vote today and say we no longer want to utilize this map that shows a, maybe a clear intent by the county that we're not using this map, but it's still available to the public. It's part of the agenda packet from November. It's part of today's packet. People can look at it if they want to see it. It doesn't really provide much information. My assessment of this map is, an interesting mapping exercise, but it didn't really tell us where there would be, on a certain piece of property, where there would be a hazard. It tells us where there would be a potential hazard down in the stream bed itself, where debris flow could occur. But most of that is an area that's not being built on because it's, it is down the canyon, and in some places it's, where the debris flow potential would be either a flood zone or unsuitable for building anyway. But if there is an intent by the board to say that we're not using this map for any review for building permits, I guess that's within your purview to do, but really we aren't. So I'm not really sure what the purpose of any action would be on this map.
So when we first did this map, it was, FEMA was not wanting to put 14 different locations. And didn't we pay for 11 sites for a geologist to go in and clear those locations? Even though FEMA says by this map that they were according to this map within a 100-year floodplain, and it was subject to debris flow. We paid for 11 sites. The 11 sites that FEMA trailers went on to clear those sites. All 11 sites were okay to put FEMA trailers on. The reason why that the board approved this is because of it being identified as a dangerous area for the floodplain. I want it removed. I don't want FEMA anything to be identified here.
Okay, so that's correct that there were a number of parcels that fell. I don't remember the number. Believe you say 11, it's 11. That parcels that we hired a consultant because they fell into the moderate risk area, that we required a site-specific evaluation. The county paid for that. We went out to those sites. The geologist looked at it and said, no, this specific location on this parcel, even though it's in the general, larger drainage basin of moderate hazard, was found to be stable enough that a mobile housing unit could be placed there.
But before that, what people don't know is I was brought into a meeting that they wanted to do the whole area for every specific parcel in the area, including the areas that they weren't going to put FEMA trailers on, but every parcel.
So is there a problem? I mean, does it hurt us at all to just go with Cliff's suggestion? It doesn't sound like it does, right? To just say, we're not going to use this map any longer. It's not going to hurt us.
No. The program's over.
Why don't we just do that?
That's fine.
Okay.
You guys okay with that?
Sure. Do you need public comment before we?
Sure. Do we have public comment on it?
I was Rosemary Wilson. I was interested in the map because the map, I believe this is going back a few months now, but it indicated that my land, my property, would fall on either moderate or severe risk. I remember talking to Peter as we were, or as the county was discussing the map, maybe a little bit after, and Peter sharing with me, and this is to the best of my knowledge, what I recall, was that in fact when the various departments got together, they used information that was inappropriate to use for making that assessment. You had to make an assessment. You made an assessment with data, but the data was either not appropriate or it was the best available. Whatever happened, that map probably has a good number of question marks associated with its, with validity, how you classify the various risk factors. My concern is that the map is out there. You say that the geology, and only for specific sites on specific lots did the geologist approve the placement of the FEMA trailers. But the information nonetheless is out there for anybody to look at or to ask for, and that may impact insurability, buildability, liability, a whole lot of things like that. And since the exact info that was used to create the map was somewhat dubious, and that came from my conversation with Peter.
30 seconds.
I would very much like it to be recognized that there are those question marks associated with it, so that down the road we don't have difficulties with regard to flood insurance or the liabilities and other things that I haven't mentioned. Thank you.
So right after the fire, there was the fear of the hard rains, debris flows, and things like that. There wasn't any soil stabilization. And the USGS came up with this map and identified the areas. The board decided that the 100-year floodplain was a good gauge to go by because of that. I don't really care for FEMA identifying anything as anything, my personal opinion, because in my opinion, a lot of their identifiable areas are a little bit skewed. Their Doppler stuff or whatever they use for measurements puts people at risk for higher insurance rates and things like that. I just don't want people up here to have any issues with that whatsoever. So I remember talking about how, sure, the soil and everything up there at that time, was unstable for a lot of cases. That's why we got a geologist to come in to make sure that those areas for FEMA were stable. I know that FEMA was trying to get me to do the whole area and try to talk the board into it, which I didn't want to do. I felt that, and I heard staff talk about as time went on, as the shrubs and everything grew, the soil would become more and more stable. Well, I also know that there's about a foot of soil out there, and the rest of it's rock, most of it. Who knows that until you dig into it? So who really knows? We are about 8 months past it. There's a whole bunch of vegetation growing out there right now. I just don't want people to have to worry about paying more insurance or worry about extra added things when it comes to this map being a part of whatever comes up for their property.
Well, you're absolutely right that, after a winter season, we now have, the rains have come, flooding occurred, some debris flow happened in some areas, not to, fortunately, not to the degree that most people were concerned about. We now have a season's worth of growth of new vegetation. Even the grasses themselves will help stabilize the soil. This map no longer represents what's out there in the field today. I think that if your desire is to say we're not going to use this map, that a motion would be that something to the effect that the map adopted November 3rd, has no further validity and is not going to be used by county staff in reviewing any building permits, and that's probably sufficient to say we're done with this.
So basically, we voted as a majority to approve the use of this map to determine debris flows in the placement of FEMA temporary housing.
Correct.
And so today, we are being asked to unreconsider what we did before.
Well, it wouldn't be that, because again, this map was specific for the placement of FEMA MHUs at that point in time.
What I'm looking for is what to make the motion.
So I think the motion would be that, and I'm just sort of, grasping words out of the air right now, that program is over. This map no longer has any force and effect, and will not be used by county staff in reviewing future building permits.
That was not very clear. I move that we I'm trying to figure out how exactly to say this. It's very wordy.
Can you reference the agenda item for the map?
Yeah.
Well, I've read that about 15 times. I'm trying to figure out how to put it in. Let me withdraw my motion and you make it.
All right, I'll make a motion that the map in agenda item number 8 has served its purpose, has no further effect on landowners in the burn area, and should be removed.
I second the motion.
Okay. So motion by Supervisor Wright, second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. There we go.
Good job.
You say so now. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
we have a whole bunch of so-called nonprofit stakeholders up in the hills that was very involved in keeping the county green and eco-friendly. Has they made any kind of contribution or help of getting things back to normal? Do you folks know anybody, any of the organization? I don't know, maybe Peter knows anything. Has anybody from those nonprofit stakeholder friends financed by Mr. Soros and Mrs. Ketchuphead that get anything, any help? For the redo the forest land and keep the environment nice and clean and for our grandkids? Did we get any kind of financial help from those concerned citizens to make our living more, what did they call it? What kind of living? Sustainable living. That it was so concerned. Did we get any help from them?
So that is really nothing to do with the map, right?
No, nothing to do with the map, but as long as I got the planning there, you folks out here, maybe you can
All right, so that's,
get back things to normal.
we were on the map, so now we're on the,
Okay.
something else.
So shaking your heads, none of those came through, right? Thank you.
Okay, item 9 is from the Sheriff's Department to approve a contract with Ironstone Vineyards and Winery for supplemental law enforcement services from July 1st, 2016 to July 30th, 2019.
Sergeant Greg Stark, here to answer any questions you have on the contract. As one note, they changed it from 7 concert events to 8, plus the fireworks.
What days of fireworks on?
I believe it's the 2nd.
Okay. Okay, great. Any public comments on this? Board comments?
Sergeant, one question, Board Chair. Time spent out there with the Sheriff's Department is billed at time and a half, is that correct?
Correct.
And our officers or our deputies are compensated at that rate too?
Yes.
Okay, just want to clarify.
It's an actual cost contract.
Excellent, thank you very much.
All right, can I have a motion, please?
Move to approve the contract with Ironstone Vineyards.
I did public comment.
Second.
We have a motion by Supervisor Kearney, second by Supervisor Olvera. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Number 10.
Item 10 is also from the Sheriff's Department, authorizing the sheriff to execute the 4th option year under contract W91238-12-C-0013 with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in the amount of $57,340.80 for supplemental law enforcement services from May 1st, 2016 to April 30th, 2017.
Sergeant Greg Stark, Sheriff's Department, here to answer any questions. This grant covers the actual cost for a deputy out there, including additional deputies for the fireworks event that they're having.
This is over, Hogan.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any questions from the public? From the board?
I move to approve.
Motion by Supervisor Kearney.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Olvera. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Or 4-1 absent. Thank you, sir.
Item 11 is from the Administrative Office. Authorize the Board Chair to sign a letter of opposition regarding AB 2395 to Assemblyman Lowe.
Okay. Yes. Chris and I had a meeting yesterday with AT&T, and they would like to come on the 14th and give us a presentation and give us their rendition of, of what they would like to do here. They don't agree with all of the information that's out there, and so and they would like to also update us on what their plans are for this area. which they haven't done so far. So we would like to, I would like to ask the board to consider pushing this out until they get their opportunity, as you would say, their date in court, to give them an opportunity to come and speak, and which would still give us time to. Yeah.
I would agree, Chef.
So, I like giving everybody opportunity to speak if they can. So.
I'm good with it also.
Okay, I'd like public comments first.
Pat Cohen, I'd like to ask your help to explain to a gentleman from Campbell, who happens to be in the assembly, that not everybody lives in a place where they get reception from satellite phones. Some of us choose to be old, not only physically, but in a position. Thank you for your help.
Thank you, ma'am. Were you pointing at Peter? Because I didn't see anybody close to you there.
Is this, on the 14th, is this a public hearing?
Yes. What is that? I couldn't hear you, Bonnie.
Is this going to be in a regular board meeting, a public hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll come and do a presentation, and then we could have the same opportunity.
And then we can ask them all kinds of questions about when they're going to build the AT&T cell service for the county.
I hate to be a newcomer, but I have no idea what this is about, and it's hard for me to get on board unless somebody explains what this item 11 is.
I'll try to explain to you briefly. Okay. Any other public comments? Okay. So AT&T called Chris and I. We've been working with AT&T, and also Mr. Moss has been working with AT&T since during the Butte fire, after the Butte fire, and since then. It's been kind of a rocky relationship, really, but we try to get along. The issue has been communication throughout the county for a very long time, forever, and still, especially up in the areas throughout the whole county, really. There's a lot of dark areas. I went to CPUC website where they have maps, and they show their coverage areas, and that's their responsibility areas. And so I actually made some comments online a couple of times, and was not very kind a couple of times. And Chris as well. Chris was challenging him. It's his area, a lot of his area too, especially during the fire. And we both worked on communications in that area. Got some cell sites up there, some temporary cell sites during the fire. And that was an important part of the response. And when it turned into recovery, they took it. And then it made it kind of difficult. So, and since then we've worked and we've kind of kept in contact a little bit. It prompted them to do something, and this something is what they want to come and explain to us. There's a bunch of new technology going on out there. Who knows what big corporations think? Who knows? But I do know that what they explained to us seems reasonable to listen to. At least we feel that it is something that the public should have an opportunity to hear before we make a decision on something like this. It has to do with more coverage in the county. It has to do with coverage that still includes your landline. Right? Still includes your landline. It also includes a greater coverage in internet service, which would go over fiber optics. And it also includes a greater cell coverage area. So, yes. So somebody's probably making them do that. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so, but they're going to come up with their story, and I felt that it was probably a pretty good idea for us to give them that opportunity to come and do that and let the people hear what they have to say before we start bashing them again, and then I have to go back on TV to apologize once more. So when is that meeting? Right now, tentatively, it's the 14th, and I believe they're going to make that meeting June 14th. Okay.
And if not, then the 28th.
If not, it'll be on the 28th. But I said 28th is a little bit close to, too close for decision-making time for the Senate. So 14th is what what Chris and I were pushing. Right. So we thought it was is something that we felt that it was in the best interest of our county and the constituents here, and also it was fair enough that we should listen to their story. The thing that caught us was, and Chris brought this up, he has more people just on phones than anybody probably. And he mentioned, well, my folks really don't like anything else but their homeland phones, right? Like my mom, right? And they don't want to change. And they said they don't have to change. So that was the catch-all right there for us. And we said, okay, we'll make arrangements for you. And so that's what we did. Okay.
Item 12 is from the Administrative Office, the appointment of applicants to serve on various committees, commissions, advisory boards, and county service areas. This item has several applications and appointments. The first appointments are for CSA number 1, Rancho Calaveras. These vacancies were advertised in the Calaveras Enterprise on April 26, 2016. An application has been received from Colleen Reyes and one from Larry Parenti. There are 5 vacancies, I think, overall, or 5 positions. So there are vacancies for these 2 positions or these 2 applications. The next is for the Mental Health Board. This vacancy was advertised as part of the annual advertisement done in 2015, and an appointment was never made. It's 1 vacancy for a general public member, John Ertel. The next is for the Fish and Game Commission. This vacancy was also advertised as part of the annual advertisement done in 2015, and an appointment was never made. 1 vacancy for a District 4 representative, and an application has been received from Sherry Smith. And the last is for the Copperopolis Cemetery District. This vacancy was also advertised as part of the annual advertisement done in 2015, and an appointment was never made. 1 vacancy, and an application was received from Stacy Griffith, who has previously served on that commission, that board.
Okay. Public comments, please.
Peter Rage, General 5th District. As 5 of the elected board of supervisors were volunteered, I don't know if they realize it or not, but you are the trustees from CSA 1, folks. You've been here for a few years now. Have you seen any kind of financial reports from Public Works for CSA 1 finances? Thank you.
Any other public comments? Board comments?
Yes, I have seen the reports. We have
public?
Sure. I mean, you can ask Public Works to give you a detailed report of CSA 1 anytime you want. They'll get it for you.
No, they used to have annual.
You're going to go over here to the podium?
I know that you guys want to.
I hate to get tough with you.
Pardon me? Peter Rage, General 5th District. For some reason, folks, for years, you had a brochure. Now, I know that the staff wants to save money on paper, and I fully appreciate that. but they had a full report of everything because they had a fiduciary responsibility and due diligence report because of special district, and which is about 2/3 of all special district finances. And folks, for some reason, they quit printing it. Maybe the ink cost gone up. But you used to have every year a report given. And I think Mr. Kearney knows as well, there's a lot of frustration with the cooperation between Public Works and CSA-1. CSA-1 is not a cow that you can keep milking and butcher at the same time. That's a big scam, rip-off thing. Thank you. That's why I want publicly noted, because folks, you decided to take it upon yourself to have that fiduciary responsibility. I'll take it upon myself to be a pain in the butt for any and all 5 supervisors. You guys, I don't think you know it, but you're giving 5th District a royal shaft and rip-off. And we can go into a little bit more detail if we have to. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
Anything accomplished there?
yeah, we've got a lot of stuff accomplished.
I know you've been working on it.
Oh, goodness. He's not incorrect. It was very chaotic, but I have a good chair who unfortunately was just hospitalized, so it set us back a little bit. We've almost got it all worked out. Public Works has been there's a new person in Public Works assigned to it, Peter, and he's actually been good about working with us, but the information flow regarding it, let me put it this way, after I was sworn in, the CSA-1 information was all piled in one big box in no particular order. Now it's on a spreadsheet. I have a chair who has worked tirelessly to straighten it out. Last month we came very close to having it 100%. Unfortunately, he got very sick. We're almost to the point where anybody can pick it up now. They know where the dollars are, and they can go on from there. And it was a Herculean effort to get it to that stage. But we're very close to having it there.
Always before you're putting this up.
So I got a motion
To approve all the commissioners, yeah.
All right, so a motion by Supervisor Wright.
And I'll second the motion.
Second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you for your patience.
Sure.
Sorry.
All right, so we're on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested party may request removal of an item from the consent agenda for later discussion. Any member of the public wish to uphold a consent agenda item?
Yes, there is one.
Okay.
You guys want to go through the day without lunch break?
No, I just want to pull the consent agenda item. 20? Okay. 31? Okay. Any member of the board?
A moment, please, Sheriff. 24.
24. All right. Could I have a motion, please?
Move to approve the consent agenda
Except.
as changed.
Okay, except for?
20, 31, and 24.
Okay. I have a motion by Supervisor Kearney, second. Second by Supervisor Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So it's 4, 1 absence. Okay, number 20. Who pulled number 20? Okay.
Elsa Gallup Taxpayer Association. It's not clear to me what this is about. Could it be explained a little better than what's listed here?
Yeah, Robert will explain it.
Good afternoon, Robert Packinger, Public Works. In the past, when the county submitted grant applications and received funding from Cal Recycle, there was a certain way that we had to account for the grants. They've changed their process a little bit, and this resolution is an attempt to catch up and keep up with the process. They streamlined some items there on how we could process the grants, and so this allows us to continue our streamlining efforts on our end.
All right. Any public comments on that? Board comments? Motion, please.
I move to approve.
Motion by Supervisor Kearney.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Oliveira. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4 approved, and 4 ayes and 1 absent. Number 24.
I pulled that, Chair Edson, and I don't have a particular problem with how it's written, but the one thing that I have been inundated with since we passed the medical marijuana ordinance are the law enforcement issues. And sometimes it's daily, sometimes it is multiple times a day, where people are very concerned. And even after you explain the reasons why we might have gone forward on that was to help our law enforcement and provide them a clearer structure of how to go forward with it. The feeling is still that, well, we don't have the law enforcement to do it, et cetera, et cetera. And I am glad that this is written down here, and I thank you for doing it. But what I would like to do, if we truly believe that this program is going to fund law enforcement and that we're going to get the money for it, then I don't want to wait until June 30th to start looking for 2 deputies. I want it started yesterday because the deputies don't fall out of the sky, as we found out. And the reason why I pulled this was to have this discussion so that we are proceeding post haste to put the law enforcement here because our people are concerned.
Judy Hawkins, Human Resources Director. We are, of course, currently recruiting for deputies, and I am glad to report that we are quickly filling the positions. We are currently close to having the positions filled. With the addition of these 2 positions, so we are constantly recruiting. And as soon as these are approved, we, of course, we'll get these filled as soon as possible. It's not a case of it will wait until June 30th. We will work on them as soon as possible.
So by this vote, will you start working on them as ASAP?
Definitely. And my staff has already have been instructed to do so.
Okay, thank you. I can't tell you how many people I have talked to in the last 2 weeks who are genuinely concerned for their safety.
These are top priorities.
Okay.
And that was the reason we didn't wait on to recommended budget hearings, that it was the board's direction to bring these positions forward ASAP so that the recruitments could start on both the deputies and the code enforcement officers right away. In addition, there'll be additional things that will be included in the recommended budget for the sheriff's office, for code compliance, and for some other departments, but these the board has said were critical to move forward on, and that's why this resolution came forward today.
So right now, we're immediately looking for 2 new deputies, and should the revenue flow be greater than expected, more?
Yes.
Well, on June 30th, or at least during budget, there's going to also be a sergeant.
That's correct.
That's going to the sheriff. And then I'll be pushing for 1 more to the sheriffs for sure.
Okay.
So during budget. And I know that our county council is looking for deputy counsel, 2 code enforcement officers. Peter has already, I think he's getting some temp help, right?
Yes, extra hires.
Yeah. And then, we're just going to have to keep track of it to make sure that we're covering it all.
Right, and as soon as these positions were identified, I sat down and had a meeting with Shirley, then I sat down and had a meeting with my staff and went over the importance of getting these positions filled.
And I can appreciate all those other positions, but the concern that I have from the public is the law enforcement.
And again, that's why we brought it forward today instead of waiting into budget. And it was only after this resolution was done, agendized and published, that we realized there was also a request for a sergeant's position that will be brought forward as part of budget. Also, there's 2 vehicles for the Sheriff's Department, 2 vehicles for code enforcement. There's some other equipment. There's a multitude of things, the extra hire, approval of overtime for HR to move the recruitments forward as soon as possible. So we are doing what we can while we're segregating the funding so we know what that funding source is. And hopefully by the time we get to budget, we'll have a good idea of exactly what we can fund through that.
Thank you, and thanks for...
And also for sustainability, County Council has been working on a tax measure that will go on the ballot, a tax measure initiative that will go on the ballot in November.
Chair, a question for Ms. Hawkins. How many open positions do we have for Deputy 1 or 2 that we're recruiting for?
Well, right now, recruiting for, not including these 2 positions, 4.
We have 4 open positions we're recruiting for. Okay.
They just placed 5 about, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, and so this is, we're in a good position right now.
Excellent. That's good. I want to make sure.
Now, I know
and those are fully funded positions right now.
Yes.
If we get candidates and they're subject to hire with a notice of hire, then that's going to give us a shot.
Yes.
Okay, good. Good. I'd like to publicly thank administration, HR, Sheriff's Department, CAO, our County Council, and the board for acting so quickly on this matter.
I chime in on that.
I think it's a great example of going the same direction all at one time and making this thing happen. So, publicly, thank you.
Yes, everybody's worked very hard together to get these positions filled.
I have no doubt.
I'd like to also thank the Sheriff's Department because they're being proactive by going out and doing a little bit of proactive work, knocking on doors, letting people know that they have to follow the ordinance, and reminding folks that there is an ordinance and they have to make sure that they comply. And they're doing it nicely. They're going out and being proactive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a good opportunity for me to request that, yes, I agree with the cops. Yes, we should get them, okay? We have an opportunity I didn't see we had taken advantage of from the federal government. It costs less to hire military veterans. And plus, recently, let's say, unemployed military people who have the clearance that would speed up for a cop position also. And the federal government will pay a good portion of their salary if they've been unemployed, ex-military. And I don't know if you can get much better employees than ex-military. It is available to us. And hopefully, I'm sure she's making a great effort, but I'd like to see recruit ex-veterans, give them a job, give them the opportunity. It would be good for the taxpayers and good for you, and we will get some good quality people employed in this county. Thank you.
We do reach out to veterans, and we do have several veterans that are employed with our department.
And we're also reaching out through a program that was created earlier this year for internship for local people too. So, I mean, really, the county's been very proactive on reaching out not only to veterans but local folks too, because of the what's been happening in the past. You know, people come here for a year or 2 years, and then they're out of here, right? I think actually we're starting to move in a pretty good direction. It hasn't felt this good in quite a while. So, thanks. Hats off to our public works. I'm sorry, our That's the other one.
Public Works, Jim.
To our health, Human Resources, Judy over there. It's good job, Judy. I know you've been working hard.
Need a motion.
Motion, please.
I move to approve item number 24.
Okay, second.
Second.
Second. I got a motion by Supervisor Kearney, second by Supervisor Olivera. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item 31.
Brian Moss, Administrative Office again. Just wanted to state that the board did adopt a resolution back in November 17, 2015, stating that we are in a state of emergency for tree mortality. We've been updating that every couple of weeks ever since then, along with our other emergency declarations. What I wanted to let the board know is that the official CDAA, California Disaster Assistance Act, request went in to Cal OES last week. So it is in the mix. Again, that allows us the 75% recovery for tree mortality, 25% county cost. Our two board members, Mr. Olivera and Mr. Wright, are on the statewide tree task force, tree mortality task force, and they are also informing me, as well as other sources, that the governor is actually pushing to see if there's a presidential declaration. If that does happen, that decreases our cost to 6.25% as we are dealing with the Butte fire. So I just want to let the board know that the CDA application is into the state.
Oh, good. Thank you, Joe. I have a question. Supervisor Olivera and myself brought up the idea of following Tuolumne County's way of dealing with it by hiring a specific extra hire to lead up their county-wide task force, because it's such a huge issue. We're just barely seeing the beginning of it here in Calaveras. Next 6 months is really going to, unfortunately, be obvious everywhere you go in the county. So I'm wondering if that's something we could add as possible budget discussions, or if that's already in the mix, or is there funding we can find somewhere for that?
I think there's two things, and I'll just jump in here real quick. Part of it is the bringing in the private enterprise person like Tuolumne County has done. But the other issue, and I think this is what you're driving on, is the project manager proper. And that is a position where, yes, we need a project manager. Just to let you know, Josh White, our TCU fire chief, and I are in communication. I'm going to meet with him within the next couple of days, since he's already been down this road, and he's going to help me, guide me through that process.
And the project manager, if we get the CDA funding and application, that would hopefully fund 75% of that.
That would cover 75%.
Okay, so that'd be funded by CDAA.
75%.
75.
And if you get the presidential declaration, all but 6.25%.
We're working on that one.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay. Have a motion, please.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion by Supervisor Olivera, second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor?
Aye.
Oops, I'm sorry. Public comment on this. Tree mortality. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None? It's 4 and 1 absence. All right. Supervisor announcements. Mike, you want to go first, please?
Sure. Let's see, what have I done? We did attend a tree mortality meeting on the 11th. This was a local tree mortality meeting with Brian Moss. I'll refer to his report and our progress. Other than that, that's all I have.
It seems like I've done so much, it's hard to remember it all, but just a few quick things. I attended a couple of Valley Springs Area Business Association events. One was their regular lunch, and a very good presentation was put on by our local heart doctor, and also their social that they have once a month. It's always good to see the business people and also the members of the community. I am the chair of the Solid Waste Task Force. There are daunting tasks ahead of us. I commented on some of them earlier. That next meeting will be, I believe I said June 20th, and it's at 4:30. I encourage anyone who's interested to come. At the fair, I spent Thursday afternoon in the Solid Waste Task Force booth. It's great to meet a lot of the people, especially it's good to spend time with the staff and hear what's on their mind. Also, going to the fair, I rode the bus part of the way. It was. I encourage everybody to take advantage of it. If you didn't, you'll just have to put it on your calendar for next year. You get dropped off right at the entrance to the fair and have a nice air-conditioned ride over. And honestly, they didn't charge you a thing. If you picked it up at Angels Camp, or even as the weekend progressed, it got even better than that. We're coming up on Memorial Day festivities. I'll be attending at least one. It's a solemn event, and I encourage everyone to pay homage to those who have made it possible for us to be here. Thank you.
Okay. Chris? Yeah, I attended a bunch of stuff, and I have a lot of notes here, but I'm having trouble finding the specific amounts of money that I'd like to talk about. So maybe Shirley has it off the top of her head. She's good at that. For the state budget regarding the tree mortality, I attended a CSAC conference, a legislative conference, and it was very informative. Also somewhat disturbing on some of the stuff that's going on at the state, as you can all imagine. In an attempt to address the fact that we don't have enough housing, there's a kind of a part of the budget trailer bill is an attempt by the governor's office to put in to change the law through this trailer budget process for low-income housing to make it a by right. So there would be no discretionary approval of certain low-income housing. What sounds good on one level, it speeds up the process, cuts the red tape. That's all great, but it does bring into question how that's going to play out in local governments. And so I'm really, as well as many other counties, concerned with how the implementation of that, and there's another sister law that's going through right now at the state that would do a similar thing, how that's actually going to play out in our local zoning codes. Will it actually help us develop more low-income affordable housing, or will it actually hurt us, even though they're attempting to do the right thing? So that was something I thought a lot of people would be interested in. And then the tree mortality, there is funding in the budget for, I think it's $11 million to deal with, $6 million that will go back to local entities for state grants, and $5 million for purchase of equipment. It could be reversed on those numbers, but something like that. And then there's some additional funds for CAL FIRE to deal with enhanced fire protection. That money can go towards the tree mortality issue, as well as other fire fighting issues. And then there's an additional $150 million that's out there in play that we really need to see go towards the tree mortality issue, and it's kind of getting held up a little bit in the political process down there. So everybody's hopeful that $150 million coming from the cap and trade funds, the greenhouse gas funds, will go towards that, and specifically to CAL FIRE or another entity that we could then use that money to address this disaster. And there's a lot more, but I'll let Cliff go.
Okay. So, also I went to the Valley Springs Area Business Association meeting last night with Steve. Not last night, but last week. Steve was there as well. And they were always glad to go to those meetings. They also had a mixer on Friday night before, which we attended. Good showing. That happened at Busy Bee Realty. Those folks are very active in Valley Springs area. They do a great job. I spent Saturday at the fair, volunteering at the front gate. It's kind of fun watching people not know how to get out. That's what I did. I helped them get out of the fairgrounds. And that's because there's so many gates to get out. But it was a lot of fun because you get to communicate with a lot of people. And that's always fun. And I ran across one of my first Saddle Queen sponsorships. And that was Rochelle Schnitzler. And I sponsored her 4 years ago at Saddle Queen. And now she just won Miss Oakdale Rodeo Queen, which she's tenacious. I got to tell you, she just kept it up, and then she won. And I got to hand it to her. She's quite the gal. And then Sunday, we were there all day. Started at 7 o'clock in the morning. Left Saturday at 10 that evening. It got really cold out there. Sunday, got there at 7 in the morning. Went to the auction, the junior livestock auction. And if you haven't gone to that, I would recommend it. That is the greatest thing to experience. The kids raise their animals. They bring them for auction. There's a lot of emotion because they've raised these animals, and then they know that they're there to depart with them. And so they're so cute, and they bring them through the chute. They bring them up. They stand up there with them, and as soon as that word "sold" is mentioned, and one gate opens and another gate opens, and they go their separate ways, it's the reality that hits them right there. But that's life, and then they're on to the next year, and some of the kids have been doing it for years, and even after years, I watched a couple of kids that I've known for 4 or 5 years. They still get a little bit emotional about it, but they still do it over and over every year. I purchased a pig with a friend of mine, Stacy Johnston, and her husband. And 230-pound pig, right? And the little kid that raised that pig, he was just as happy as heck. Came over and was just happy to have me write him that check. So that was kind of fun. Purchased it for, I think it was $5.75 a pound. So it's very good for these kids to learn about how to treat an animal, how to raise the animal, how to the value of money, and the value of that commodity, and the value of life. So if you get the opportunity to go experience that, I think it's just to sit there and watch that is really, really a cool thing. So anyhow, so I was glad to see that the fair looked like it did pretty well. Sunday's attendance looked to be very, very good. I spent the last part of Sunday until about 6 down at the kiddie rides, where my niece was riding them over and over again until I was exhausted, and which was a lot of fun for her, and I had fun too. And then I got home and I couldn't do anything. So, and here I am today. So thank you for coming today. And anything from staff?
Just a reminder that budget hearings start for fiscal year 16-17 recommended budget start June 14.
So thank you, Chair. I'd like to announce that we are actually doing our official launch of the live streaming of the Board of Supervisors meetings. So anybody can go onto the county website at calaverasgov.us, click on the Board of Supervisors page, then you click onto the meeting, and there's a link to the video. And so you can watch it from home while it's happening, and it's still run on PATV in the evenings throughout the week. But we have just a couple of very minor bugs that we're working through. One of which is that our meeting start time is being incorrectly listed. It's showing, for some reason, an East Coast time instead of our actual time. So just minus 3 hours, and you should be good. But that's it.
Chair, one last comment before we adjourn. I'd like to, probably on behalf of the board, wish good things for Supervisor Ponte and her surgery. Hopefully, her recovery will be short, and hope things turn out very well.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from her when you get a chance, if you hear from her, okay?
Yes, I expect that I'll be receiving a call, letting me know how she's doing, and I will relay that to the supervisors.
And I'd like to wish my twins happy birthday today.
Well, happy birthday to them.
Before you close, Mr. Chairman, can I say just one thing? David and I have lived in a number of different places, everywhere from London, Honolulu, Seattle, Reno, and we usually go and participate in these kind of meetings. And I have to say, of all of them that we have been to, I find this one to have been one of the best I've attended. A lot of times you find a member sitting up there and they're tired of listening to people out here like me that want to say something, so they start nodding off, and I can understand that. But everyone on this board has been very attentive to everything that everyone has wanted to say, and you've given everyone an opportunity to speak. And I think that that's more important to those of us out in the general public than anything, to be able to be listened to when I have something to say. So I want to say I appreciate you, and I'm very, very proud that I've come back to this county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, meeting adjourned.